Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a Ko-Fi, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Gary Hughes, Measured Flat, Chris Wouters, Mr. Amish, Sensual Goat, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, Twards Wazzle, Jason Hornsby, Christoph Fournier, Flat Earth Travolta, JMels24, Unimento, M, Iron26, Endless, Goldie McKinnon, Retro Bill, Level Blame Poem, Michael Kahn, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, David Wayne Foster, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
And you need words to describe something or someone. So if someone is being fallacious, someone is being fallacious in the argument, you need to point it out.
Good morning, Nathan.
Morning.
Hey, good afternoon.
Morning.
Just real quick, no go Friday. You want to go to politics on Thursday? Is that it?
If I can, I've got an appointment on Friday.
All right. All right. Well, that's it. I think you're a go for Thursday on politics, but you'll know for certain later on. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All right.
I think you walked in on kind of a why would they lie from Matthias. Not so much why would they lie, but why they keep going with it after we see and show them, over and over, how it's full.
Because the awful truth is that they'd have to contemplate other things that potentially scare them. So they don't want to do that, so they brace against the original thing that might lead them to having to, assess all the things that they project onto us. When they ask why would they lie, it's not really them asking us that question, it's them asking themselves that question. But it gets projected onto us, like, why would this, that and the other happen? Why would they have rockets going? It's like, well, I don't care, you can ask those questions. I don't really care. I know how the Earth is, and your concerns thereafter aren't really mine, so that's your problem, share your pain.
It's a pretty inconvenient, backing up. I could see that'd be pretty cataclysmic.
Yeah, but we were talking about flat earthers lying or flat earthers in a different stand.
Oh, flat
than other
earthers.
flat earthers. Yes. That's what I
Delusion.
was referring to. The spectrum of flat earthers is vast. That's why I don't identify with a lot of flat earthers out there.
If you genuinely believe that you're changing the world, then you want to be positioned such that you're in some form of authority as that change occurs. Now, there's very little within the subject matter that could put us into any sort of authority beyond stating the obvious, observable, measurable nature of our world, which is already being used to claim a sphere. But you've got to find something else, something unique to offer to the people that are watching you. And many of our flat earth counterparts have done that in one form or another. They found something unique and sold it to their audience.
Yeah, like Issa.
Or mud floods.
Not just the
clone
uprising Earth
centers.
is
Doesn't
another
matter
one.
what. Mud floods, clone centers, Mandela effect, whatever.
Yeah, all of that.
So if somebody lies about you and claims you to be something you're not, that makes them a liar, correct?
I don't know what it makes them. Wrong.
Like if somebody comes out of left
Well,
field and starts making
when you have
videos, hold on, starts making videos calling me a scammer, and I'm not a scammer, and I can prove I'm not a scammer, that makes them what?
Scumbag.
A scumbag liar.
yeah, but when you have someone like Whitsitt, flat earther, on the flat earth debate, talking about the ether, yeah, that implies that every single flat earther thinks the same. They're stereotyping all of us.
That's correct.
It reminds me of two things. It reminds me of well, pseudoscience in that they lump science as a big title to a whole bunch of different fields, and then it also reminds me of religion and how you start as a core religion and then you break off into a bunch of sects or different offshoots.
Yeah,
It's
like they
just
call that
it's just in my head.
they call. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying it's in my head. Go ahead, my bad.
They call that denominations, but all those denominations, they're backed by something in Scripture. Like the Baptists will stand by baptizing. The Pentecostals will stand by the day of Pentecost. So how are you going to break flat Earth up into denominations when it's not backed by anything, the ether? What is the ether backed by? Nothing, right? It's not provable.
Pseudoscience.
Whitsitt will say on this show, yeah, it's not science, but he'll go on another debate and he'll claim it to be science.
Yeah, the 9.8 meters per second of dielectric acceleration. For gases and clouds.
You're going to need flat Earth for that.
People rush quickly, to overwrite a different paradigm from the previous one. I need to fill in this gap. I erased this part of my programming, but now what I'm going to put here instead? I wonder. Oh, there's this thing called ether. It fits like a glove. Unbelievable.
Yeah. And what did Adam say that one time? Why you brought your standards up to the point where you come to an understanding that Earth is flat? Your standards were raised. Now all of a sudden the standards are lowered. Like, come on. What's going on here?
You're right, George. They're replacing one
You
belief
said
with another.
raised?
They formerly had a sky vacuum belief that was heliocentric. Now they've got a sky vacuum belief that's Ethereum.
Yeah, but they don't see it that
Exactly. They
way.
still have this area of volume that gases are not expanding into it, with light millions of miles away from the surface. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Is there like a
They don't see it
machine
that way.
involved with ether, or
Try again, Adam.
I was just asking, is there a machine involved with ether, or are they producing something that we could call ether?
No, there's extended claims of future practical application only.
So more ideas, more theory.
More promise for the future. What do you like? Free energy? You not like the idea of hoping that will eventually befall you? you know the truth of ether. It's quite tantalizing, I would say.
No, ether's
But that's a
interesting enough.
it's a baller concept, isn't it? The ether, the magnetic, the toroidal field, like a nobloid spheroid with the north and the south pole magnetic. It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, just add in words like logical framework, and you've basically got a like-for-like comparison with the heliocentric equivalent, with gravity.
Well, that's what they say. Gravity's not needed. See? This is our answer.
They are pushing the ball and they don't realize it.
Strange.
Well, the bowlers will come in and they'll nod
Yeah,
along because it fits their rhetoric. Meanwhile, let's not look here. The Earth is measured flat. Oh, there's a sign saying the Earth is measured flat. No, ignore it. Don't look there. Don't research. Let's look at the ether.
You just have to outshine these people in terms of overcoming a heliocentric worldview and producing evidence for the claim that we're actually making. We are flat earthers after all. And if we are outshining them in that very specific standard, that will speak for itself. That's all you can do. Now, you can bleat and moan and say, oh, they've had so many more opportunities. No, you could do that. But it'll drive you nuts. You can address the nonsense as it comes in front of you reactively, and we do, pondering why they might have more popularity or making greater influence. You know, Adam said this as well. What we're selling is dog poo. Rolling it in glitter's not helping us. People don't want to hear it. Now, the fact that it's real isn't of any consequence to your average Joe Fundy who doesn't want to hear it. Someone who doesn't want to contemplate the awful truth of the reality that they project onto us with all the questions that they have, they don't want to hear it either.
Yeah, well, what sells more? Fantasy or reality?
Fantasy. The promise of free energy is so alluring that it will entice more people than potentially we can, with just flat out truth about how Earth is measured. Now, while I'm saying that now, I actually don't believe it's true, but only time will tell, right? The more we're out there peddling these arguments and the more people pick up on them. That's why I was so delighted that Mark Sargent echoed the sentiments of this server, having watched a couple of shows because he was featured in them, which is perfectly fine. And then he's immediately gone on his own show and gone, Earth's measured flat. Like, yeah, you haven't got to listen to much or many shows to figure that out and pick up why when we lay it out time and time again. So, you know, people like Mark echoing that sentiment is fantastic. I only hope that expands more. If what the objections from the panel and Discord have been up until now over the last few months is that people don't want the argument to end too quickly. Like, okay, maybe we are dealing with masochists and they want to drag out their pain. Me, I've never wanted that. I always want to get to the quickest end to the argument. So it's a different way of doing things. And if you did want to drag it out, as long as you know how to end the argument, drag it out all you like. As long as at the conclusory point you point out that their argument relies on Earth being measured flat, drag it out for as long as you need. That's what you desire. You don't need to, in reality, but if you feel the need to personally, then feel free to drag it out as long as you conclude that Earth is measured flat, because it is. It'll be in their claim at some point. Now, 4 months into this as a rhetoric for us on Flat Earth debate, I still miss it. You know, when John's on the panel, he'll pick up on various things, normally to do with up and down, above or below, in terms of its referencing a flat plane, which I'll miss. Don't get me wrong, give it another month and I won't. But we're still learning here on the panel. A year from now, we'll all be dab hands and therefore more effective when we use these arguments against our opponents and people see it and hear it and read it in comment sections. Now, the ideal would be that every single time someone does recognise that, they're making their way back to this show to get to the source. Unfortunately, Flat Earth seems like crabs in a bucket. People want to drag you back down if you're getting anywhere near the edges. Well, so be it. Greater Good suggests that we should just keep putting out the arguments and outshining our ether-believing brethren.
Well, look at it like this, Nathan. You come across a topic, you start a channel. Now, I don't know what anybody's making, but let's suppose they're doing good financially from it. Now, all of a sudden, something comes along that's going to just end it right there. It maybe a lot of it may be out of fear. You know what I'm trying to say?
I definitely disagree with the first part. I'm being hauled over the coals. I'm being called into the job centre because I'm not earning enough money, and they're quizzing me on it, which is so irritating when I've been self-employed for about 5 years. But there we go.
Yeah, but you're talking truth. You're talking truth. I'm talking about the guys that are not. You understand what I'm saying?
I do, but I want to moan about the fact that I've been put out on Friday.
Yes. Send Nathan money. Smash the super chats. Join the show. Tell your neighbors.
People already do. It's just a matter of expanding out the reach of the channel, i.e. having more subscribers or a bigger subscriber base. That obviously has a direct impact on my revenue. So the growth comes before the e-begging. I mean, obviously, I'm still going to e-beg because I've got to remind people that I do need to pay the bills. That's what they're quizzing
I
me
just
about.
recommend everyone to listen. I recommend everyone to listen to the show in the loudspeaker. It's a good way of promoting the show.
As long as we can keep the language clean.
In my opinion.
I agree. There's plenty of
As
people
long
who
as
are
we
listening
can
to it
keep the
in
language
places
clean,
and
yes.
businesses that otherwise potentially won't if we don't keep the language clean.
Hey, George, I used to do that on a job site. Used to drive the guys crazy. Back in 2015, 2016.
I did yesterday I did yesterday from a bus, a public bus, yeah, with a lot of people in the bus, and I was on the show. Not on this show, but I was participating on a debate. No problem.
I've had loads of people tell me that are retailers, in other words, dealing with the public. With like one instance was a market trader, and there's other specific shop owners, retailers, and such like that make it clear. No, we do have your show running in the background. Now they're not necessarily saying please don't swear, but when they say those things, you suddenly become acutely aware especially when you're in the scenario, you're actually in the shop, whichever shop it may be. You're like, okay, so if I was blaring out of a speaker somewhere in this building and there's a lot of shouting and swearing going on, that's going to get quickly turned off by the person who's listening to it, or you know what I mean? So the cleaner we can keep it, the more likely we are to literally reach more people that are potentially overhearing the show. That's what I'm being quizzed about on Friday. In case you were interested, nobody's actually asked, but I'm going to tell you anyway. So I'm sure I mentioned this yesterday. I was actually supposed to do this appointment last Saturday, but I had a problem with my knee. And yeah, I won't rehash that story. Nevertheless, they're calling me in to say, what can you do to earn more money? Because you're not earning enough. So the reason I'm doing this job centre appointment is because they've, in England, changed the way that benefits get paid for children. Now, my wife, in her wisdom, went, all right, they've changed the system. I'll promptly change to the new system, which has immediately caused me to get a load of letters from our council saying you need to come in for appointments. What for? Well, so we can scrutinise every penny you don't earn and ask you questions about how you can earn more. We're like, oh, right. Well, isn't that wonderful? Thank you. I kind of wanted to be self-employed so I would never have to speak to you ever again, ever. You know, I've been actually unemployed and had to go into job centres to do similar interviews. But when I've been out of work, not when I'm slugging my guts out 24/7. It's like the last thing you want to do is take a day off to go and talk to someone about how the government want you to earn more money. It's like, get lost. On the other hand, my wife was like, well, they do actually give us about 500 quid towards all these lessons we pay for. I'm like, oh, well, I will go to the appointment then, cap in hand. Because it does actually, it's a fairly substantial wedge of money that I'd lose, or my wife would strictly lose, because it goes to her, not me. But
Yeah,
it
but
covers things for the
you're
kids.
not looking for work.
I know, that's the most annoying thing.
Yeah.
But
That should be one of the first questions they will ask you. Are you looking for work? And the answer is no, I'm not.
it's not that kind of appointment.
Tell them you'd like appearances on television in live debates.
Yeah, you do work. You have a live show like this one.
Yeah, they know all
You
that.
just need to log in and click on it.
Yeah, they know all that. They know all that. I've handed them all the information for all that. Doesn't change the fact that they're still quizzing me and asking me how I can earn more money, which is precisely what they're doing. Anyway, I'll go with a list of things that I've done over the last month, which is extra work to tell them about, doing this and that and the other. Anyway, that's my moan over. Let's change the subject.
Yeah, but if they do participate, or if they share the show, then you can earn more money. They can also help.
I can ask my woman at the job centre or man at the job centre, can you just share my show and then I'll earn more money?
There you go.
Tune in,
Yeah.
watch the ads.
Well, if more people join in, you'll earn more money.
Indeed. That's why I e-beg more often than not for people to share the show, because that's what expands the reach of the show. And if you've got a greater expanse and a greater audience base, then you've got potentially more people who will say, oh, we'll smash the super chat, send you a PayPal, give you a Ko-Fi, whatever. Join as a Patreon. Oh, man, the Patreon's my lifesaver at the moment, if I'm honest. In fact, they always have been. Thank you, Patrons. That's why I thank them daily.
Hey, Nathan, how many people do they say is in the world? I know statistics are made up on the spot, but what was the last number they came up with? Does anyone know?
70 billion or something? I don't know.
If everybody could send Nathan a dime, you'd be set. I'm thinking of doing it for myself.
Yeah, that
Set a
principle.
campaign up.
Yes, that's right.
Everybody send me a quarter.
Neil. Yes, that principle applies to what I've just said, though, doesn't it? Yeah. You're saying if everybody, well, you've got to be able to reach everybody, haven't you? So that's
the next question. How do I do that?
Well, I've already covered that. Anyway, let's change the subject. We've got 5 minutes before we go live.
No, I'm getting hungry now. I'm saying, wait a second, I can do that for myself. If everybody give me a dime, I'll be out of the situation I'm in. That's it. I got to reach the world.
Yeah, that only applies to your social network.
But that is the answer, Nathan. Yeah, that's the answer to the job center. Yeah, if you the government don't censor me, I can make more money.
It's not them censoring me; it's YouTube.
Well, it's still the government.
No, it isn't. It really
the government are the ones who are giving the order to YouTube UK what they can or not.
No, that order came from Congress in the States.
Okay, it's still coming from the government, and they are the ones who are questioning you. They are the ones also stopping you from making more money.
Good bleat. I just want the appointment to be over as quickly as possible by showing him a load of printouts with a load of numbers on. Anything, they've cost me money because I've had to get my accountant involved to produce some of the documents that they wanted. It's like, I don't want to be paying my accountant to do anything other than making sure I don't pay any tax. Anyway.
Let's just keep plugging forward, turning up the dirt, planting new seed, and move forward in flat Earth. Calling out the frauds like we do, and sticking to what we know, what we can validate, what we can measure. And what we can measure is Earth, and it's flat. Deal with that.
Yes, we'll do our damnedest to keep the show as informative and entertaining as possible, Neil.
I think that's highly entertaining. I've been listening back to the other shows. When you got these people against the ropes, like who is that guy that just wouldn't like he was confessing that it was just flat, but he was taking it to all different avenues. What's this the guy's name? The politics server. The one that they banned, they stop a couple of times. Yeah. That's entertaining.
I mean, I'm still entertained.
Very entertaining.
It does cut the argument short, though. Like when you realize that everything they say is flat or requires a container and is measured that way, and there's nowhere to go.
That's perfect. Perfect. You guys hear my wipers going, right? Listening back to the show, not only the wipers, but every time I make a freaking turn, the signal sound is on. I got to be really mindful of that. I guess he's not in the show. Talking to my freaking self. If refracted was here,
I would
maybe
not
somebody else would
use
be here.
your. I would not use your signal. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I catch it. I've been catching it lately. I said, oh, God. Like yesterday, I'm listening to one of the shows, like freaking 8 times my signal was going on while Nathan was talking. Terrible.
Hello, Nathan.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good evening. Good night, wherever you may be. Whatever the time may be, it's good to have you all. Please share the show. Let's do a bit of housekeeping. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth?
Black Swan.
Did I hear someone whisper Black Swan?
What's that?
I was going to say that.
Someone literally whispered Black Swan.
Black Swan.
That was epic.
What's the Black Swan?
If the Earth was a sphere with a radius of 3959 miles and every distance to horizon measurement could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet, distance to horizon in the image we call the Black Swan is beyond the geometric limitations at 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. Therefore, the Earth is not a sphere and the horizon is not Earth curve.
I never said those measurements. Where did you get that from?
From the claim that the Earth's a sphere, based on the 3959 radial measurement off a flat plane, used to infer Earth's sphericity.
You forgot the no Atmo Day.
What does that mean, no Atmo Day?
No Atmo Day is
I
an assertion
mean,
that the original...
you need to curve.
Go on, George.
You need to be able to curve a flat plane in order to turn it into a sphere.
Not exactly. No Atmo Day is their assertion that there's a straw man in the peace statement. When we say, if Earth's a sphere with a radius of 3959, we are reasserting their original claim, which is that there is physical Earth curve geometry, which says there's a hill, physical in nature, getting in the way of your view of things, with boats falling over it. That's their claim. Now, because we're debunking their claim by showing that isn't the case, you're not measuring physical geometry for boats to fall over, aka Earth curve. They say, oh, well, the original claim you say in the modus tollens is a straw man, because it doesn't account for atmospheric refraction. That is to say, we wouldn't expect to have straight lines to anything. Okay, given that you wouldn't expect to have straight lines to anything ever, you won't be doing dip correction, because it's an angle correction. You won't be utilizing horizontal planes of reference because they're straight. And you won't be getting tangents to anything. In other words, the moment they say refraction, every part of their geometry, which requires straight lines, falls by the wayside. They're relinquishing their own claim. They're committing intellectual harry-carry on the spot when they say refraction. They haven't figured that out yet. John knew it when he made the argument and wanted them to say it. Now, 4 years later, some of them still believe that saying refraction is actually a rebuttal as opposed to a relinquishment of their claim that they've got a physical Earth curve edge called the horizon. That's their claim. Telling us that it's a straw man is basically saying Earth curve is a straw man. That's what they're actually saying when they say refraction.
That's the most amazing part, that after 4 years, they still don't realize it.
Some people are dumb. And a seeming
So there
rebuttal
is
is
an
as good as they
official-
need sometimes. Go on. Sorry, George.
Oh no, that was Adam and me. So there's an official calculator, and it's been debunked with simple tools as a camera, and that's pretty much a black swan.
Yes and no. The tool, yes, is the camera for capturing the image, but you need a yardstick. And in the case of the black swan, the yardstick is the fixed to the ground position of the oil rigs, because you can then specifically say the horizon's beyond 10 miles because that's where the oil rigs are and that's where the horizon is beyond it. So it's unequivocal in terms of your statement of fact when you describe the distance to horizon. Now, because the modus tollens relies on distance to horizon measurement, showing it way beyond its physical limitations is the crux of the argument, but you can only prove that if you've got a yardstick in the form of the oil rigs.
Yeah, those are key, those
I
oil
tend to
rigs.
simplify, but
Go on, Adam.
I was just saying I do tend to simplify or maybe oversimplify, but yeah, I understand.
You're not doing anything wrong. I'm over-emphasising the detailed aspects of the argument for the audience's benefit. It doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. You're not oversimplifying it. Far from it. All you need is a camera. Going out, took a picture, actually a video. And you can show that the horizon's beyond the physical limitations they claim in the Earth curve maths. They say, well, we're not claiming physical limitations of boats going over horizons, refraction. It's like, well, when you say boats going over the physical hill that we say is Earth curve proves that there's Earth curve, and then you say, well, but other than the fact that we're not actually seeing anything go over anything, it's a refractive effect. Well, then you're not proving your Earth curve.
Exactly.
Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nathan, are you
Scientific
talking
evidence
about
of
all
what?
things going down?
No, not all things go down.
Hold on a
Well,
second.
is
How
that
can
the
you have
gravity you're talking about?
scientific proof? How can you have scientific proof of a concept? The
You can't.
bending of space-time caused by the uneven distribution of mass. It's a concept,
Yeah, mathematical
not a
concept.
scientific
Yeah,
claim.
correct. It's not
There you go.
scientific, it's a category error. It's a mathematical concept in a mathematical geometry. Yeah, you can't have
Well,
phenomena
that's
for
why I
abstract.
asked. Are you talking? Sorry.
You can't have a phenomena when you're dealing in abstract terms. Fourth dimensional pseudo-Riemannian space-time bending, otherwise known as Einsteinian gravity, doesn't sit in the realm of the physical. It sits in the realm of the conceptual.
There you go. That's the answer. No scientific proof. Wrong genre.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety, of course.
Oh, you're going to need a flat plane to derive an R value.
Speaking of which, any evidence of the R value? Earth radius, spherical, again, in nature.
Black swan.
Yeah, black
No,
swan.
but they've been taken to asking to pretty much us turning it around on us and trying to make it like it's our claim now, but it's their claim and always has been.
The radius claim. How can they turn a spherical radial claim into our claim? I don't understand.
Because we say if it's this, then it's that. But even if it's the size that we're saying, it would be the size that they're saying. So basically, it's saying that they're saying that we're saying what they're saying. God, this is confusing.
When their claim fails, they often project their claim that's failed onto us like it's our claim. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So it's your straw man in the modus tollens when we assert that if we assess your claim of Earth being a sphere, well, you saying you'll assess our claim of Earth as a sphere becomes your claim. No, it's us taking your claim and then taking a dump on it.
That calculator. And it just goes back to that calculator.
The best example of that is always going to be Simon Dan. So when it comes to axial rotation, I might as well ask the question, any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety? No? Well, then you could tell me that my reference frames are ruined, like Dan did.
Yeah, you and your reference frames are ruined.
Right, that's the claim failing. So the Earth claim is that as a sphere, we've got a Coriolis effect. That's 2 reference frames and 15 degrees an hour, the claimed measurable drift, because Earth turns underneath as a separate reference frame, required if you're going to suggest that we have Coriolis on a turning Earth. Okay, we point out that there is no drift. Dan turns around in his idiocy, Simon Dan that is, and says, you and your reference frames have been ruined, Nathan. He proactively contacted me to debate this subject with me. He now just lies about debating at all, given he's entered into debate with me via Twitter, at the time now X, about reference frames being ruined, because he's suddenly assumed that me pointing out the globe Earth claim and its failure is my claim that's failing when he shows me no drift. Idiotic, because there's a 15 degrees an hour separate reference frame based drift called Coriolis that the globe claims, and we've debunked. Suddenly that's my claim, is it, Dan? My reference frames have been ruined, according to him, when he debated me about it. My bad, you don't debate, do you, Dan, you liar? Yeah, you do. You just get
Yeah, but
your ass
if
handed to you.
Danny was going to, if Danny would describe this rotation, it would describe an equatorial plane with the radius value for a rotation. But the equatorial plane, nevertheless, it needs the north-south to be a horizontal and a deviation from east to west or west to east to happen, which it doesn't.
Correct. If Dan was
adhering for that, Danny.
Well, if Dan was adhering to the claim that the globe makes that we have 2 separate reference frame and 15 degrees an hour are exhibitable as we turn beneath the inertial frame of reference to see a not-actual deflection called Coriolis effect, then he would have to understand that that requires a flat plane of reference to describe. But he's decrying it and in his misapprehension and delusion after losing a debate to me, thinks that reference frames are my claim, that he can then go away and show how they've been ruined. I'm not claiming them. I wouldn't need to. I'm not saying there is a Coriolis. You are. But feel free to tell me how ruined your globe Earth Coriolis space reference frames are, Dan, and show me examples of where it's not happening. Kudos for debunking Earth spin. But that's what they do when they lose. They project their claim onto us and tell us it's failed. Who brought that point up originally? Good point. Who was it that originally brought that about projection? I think it was Adam. Kudos, Adam. Yes, absolutely. They're trying to say what you're saying, what we're saying, what they're trying to say is what Adam said. But it isn't what he actually meant. He meant they project their claims onto us when they fail, I believe. Hello, Brian.
Hey, Nathan. Hey, everyone.
I got a message from you and I didn't fully read it. I've just had a lot on. Was it important?
Well, I don't know if now is the time to talk about it, but it's just me pointing out that if you're claiming that there is no horizontal measurement with the elevation angle, then you can't use that as part of measured flat, because you're not measuring flat at that point. You're only measuring within that claim, where you're claiming the horizontal is only calculated. Then at that point, you're only measuring vertical. Now, I think vertical and flat should be synonymous, but they're not.
Vertical and flat.
Nah, it's still a measurement, even when you calculate, Brian.
The elevation angle measurement.
Hang on, Neil.
Part of the elevation angle measurement is the flat reference plane.
Yeah, but you're not claiming reference flat. You're claiming measured flat.
part of a measurement. When you measure an elevation angle, that's measuring Earth, and part of that measurement is a horizontal plane of reference that you must be standing on for it to be an elevation angle measurement. It's part of the measurement.
Yeah,
Flat.
but that's not your claim.
It is my claim.
But it isn't. Your claim is measured flat. Whereas what you're talking about there is what's being referenced to make a vertical measurement.
Yeah, and it is measured flat. When you measure the elevation angle, it's measured flat.
It's not. You're
Yeah, it
talking
is.
about it's being measured using a flat plane.
Yeah, that's measured flat.
No, that's using a flat plane to measure. That's not hashtag measured flat. You haven't measured flat at that point.
Okay, I mean, this is now the 21st time we've discussed it, and it's fine. But this is the height of pedantic. There is certain circumstances. I'll concede this to you, Brian, and you know it.
But I'm only being... Hang on, Nathan. This wasn't even the direction I
Can I
was
ask
taking
something to
there.
Ryan?
No, just let Brian say his piece, please.
This wasn't even the direction I was taking the other day. But John came swinging in at me. Eli wasn't happy with me for a while as well. And I was only pointing out that you were attacking Neil for saying the globe is measured flat. When you making the statement, hashtag measure flat, isn't exactly logical either in some ways, without caveats. And then we got onto this thing where it became like the pedantic side was brought in by ye. Where I said, no, the distance is a measurement. And you went, no, that's just a calculation. And I was like, at that point, I'm sorry, if you're not measuring the horizontal within your claim, then it's not measured flat. You're referencing flat. You're not measuring flat. You're measuring vertical.
No, you're measuring an angle. And part of the angle...
Yeah, but you're measuring vertical, though. You're not within your claim, the angle part is the only measurement part, and that's the vertical.
Yeah, and the vertical is very...
horizontal is a calculation.
Let me know when you're done.
What?
Yeah, vertical and horizontal are intrinsically linked. And you're measuring an aspect of a horizontal, that's the elevation, by way of its angle. And intrinsic to the angle, intrinsic to the measurement, is a flat Earth. It's absolutely 100% intrinsic to the measurement. Now, measured flat is correct when detailing an elevation angle, because that angle measurement is with respect to a flat Earth. That's how it's defined.
Yeah, but that's referenced. You're referencing flat to make...
I'm not.
See, you are referencing flat.
I'm measuring an angle. I'm measuring
angle.
an angle. So I'm measuring an angle.
The angle is specifically an elevation angle.
Yes.
In specific, right?
Yes.
That's a vertical. You're saying that of the elevation angle, only the angle is the measurement. The horizontal distance along the adjacent is just a calculation. That is what you're claiming.
It's part of the measurement. It's not.
Hang on.
It's part of the measurement.
You said the other day that the horizontal is not being measured. You said the adjacent is not being measured. You said that is just a calculation.
That's not what I said. I said the distance of the adjacent isn't being measured.
Well, that's the same thing.
No, it's not.
It is the same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
Let me just break it down once more. The angle is being measured, and part of the angle that is measured is flat Earth. That's too cumbersome to say. I say measured flat and can elaborate based on an angle that's being measured, and part of its measurement is the flat ground you must be standing on for that measurement. Now, I get that in a pedantic back and forth, there will be points where you can hold me to task in terms of its phraseology. Now, I've said it before and I'll say it again. In terms of just having a catchy, short, understandable phrase, measured flat is perfectly acceptable. Until you get to the point where you say, well, what are you measuring? Are you measuring for flat distance? Or are you measuring for topographical flatness? And I say neither. I'm measuring an angle. And that angle has a definition.
90.
And part of its definition is a flat Earth that you're standing on to measure it.
But no. The whole point of the elevation angle in celestial navigation, because it's celestial navigation that we're speaking about here. We're not talking about the elevation angle even in surveying here, just celestial navigation. The whole point of that is to gain a horizontal distance between the observer and the GP point of the celestial body. Now, you claimed the other day, because you got pedantic about it, and you claimed the other day, right, you did claim that adjacent length is not a measurement.
That's correct.
You said only the angle is a measurement. Now, the angle is
Correct.
a vertical. So it's a measurement of the vertical.
No,
You said
an angle's
the
two
adjacent
straight.
length was a
You keep saying,
calculation.
stop. You keep saying the angle's the vertical. It isn't. It's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. One of those straight lines is a flat Earth.
No, Nathan, the elevation angle is a vertical measurement using a horizontal plane. But
That's
it
two
is a
lines.
vertical measurement.
Using a horizontal plane
So
for the measurement. So it is
we're using, not
so-
measuring. But within your claim, you're not measuring. You just claimed the other day that only the angle part is the measurement. The length along the adjacent is a calculation.
That's correct.
Right? That means that you're not measuring flat.
Yes, you are. Part of the angle
Because
measurement is a flat Earth.
No, you're referencing flat to make a vertical angle measurement.
Yeah, part of the measurement
Within
is
your
the
claim.
flat, which
I'm
is
just pointing out
yes,
your
you're
own
correct. Yeah, at this point, yes, this is where I say, okay, based on how you've caveated, the reference plane that is part of the angle measurement is flat. Therefore, not acceptable to abbreviate to measured flat. I don't agree, and I'm happy for you to disagree. But we can't move forward in this. You understand implicitly what is being done. You are referencing a plane as part of the angle measurement that is a flat Earth prerequisite. I say measured flat.
Well, I have no. Look, if you want to use the term measured flat, no, that's fine. I don't. That's not my problem, right? I understand why you use that term, and my problem wasn't that. My problem, right, started off the other day with you jumping on Neil, right, when technically you using that phrase requires caveats in reality to really make the point. So Neil could say the same thing, that he could say, well, it sounds ridiculous till I go through all these caveats, and then you can see what I mean by it.
Yeah, what did he say? What did I object
Well,
to?
he said, you objected to him saying it's hashtag globe is measured flat.
It's because it's absurd.
Yeah, globe.
It does sound absurd, but to some people, hashtag measured flat sounds absurd as well until you add in caveats.
No, it's
Right,
not
you have to-
absurd.
you have to add in
I can
caveats.
justify
But
it
the-
6 ways. It's not absurd. I can just have justified it 6 ways from Sunday. You can't ever justify globe measured
No,
flat. It's an utterly absurd contradiction in terms.
But the point is that when you add in caveats, it does sound ridiculous to add in caveats, and then you can explain Neil could explain what he meant by that statement. The same has to be true for hashtag measured flat.
No, it is not.
Because you must add.
No,
it is.
it's
You
not.
must add in
It's not a
caveats.
contradiction in terms, and it's not
you
absurd.
just- well,
no.
it is. Well, it is. Well, there is because the other day, right? You and John and other people claimed that the adjacent length was just a calculation.
Correct.
That means the whole flat part of it, because flat is not synonymous, although I think it should be, it's not synonymous with vertical. That means that the only actual measurement you have is a vertical, using a horizontal plane. But that's not measured flat. That's measured vertical.
Using a horizontal plane, that's not measuring
Yes,
flat.
so what?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
It's part of. Yes,
it's your
responding.
statement. Your statement is hashtag
Responding.
measured flat.
Yes, it is. It's part of the bleeding measurement. You just described
Isn't
it.
it? Why is the measurement? What are you measuring?
A flat Earth and an imaginary line to an object in the sky.
If you're measuring a flat Earth, then you have to be measuring the adjacent length. The thing
No,
I
no,
said
you don't have to
that
get
you
the
are going against.
length. You just need the adjacent.
No, but you say you're measuring a flat Earth and you're measuring a height of a celestial body.
That's
But
correct.
the other day you said the only part of that whole process as a measurement is the elevation.
Yeah, the
is
height.
is the angle. But
The height's not distance, though, is it? The elevation angle is very specifically not the star's height. It's the angle with respect to a flat Earth. That's all it is.
Yes, but it's a vertical. The point I'm trying to get across to you that you're fighting hard against is your claims the other day contradict hashtag measured flat.
No,
You're
it doesn't.
contradicting
I'm
yourself.
not saying the distance is measured flat.
Well, the distance is the only part of that is flat, technically.
No, there's multitudes of parts of it that are flat. Parallels, eye levels, what's the one? Perpendiculars. It's all flat. But specifically as part of the elevation angle measurement itself, it's a measurement in the vertical, just to appease you, from the horizontal plane that you're standing on.
But that's not appeasing me. I'm not. It's not that you appease me with that. That's just a fact. The elevation angle is a vertical measurement that gives you a horizontal distance between the observer and the GP.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't give you a distance. It just gives you an angle.
It does.
It does not. It just gives you. Okay, 60 is the elevation angle. What's the distance?
Well, I have to
calculate it. You'd have to calculate it. Yeah, that's why we keep telling you the distance is a calculation.
Degrees in 2 minutes.
You're rumpusing me. Yeah, you'd have to calculate it.
Yeah, so you're not measuring it then. That's the point. You're claiming it's not a measurement. You're claiming it's not a measurement along the adjacent.
The distance.
Yeah, but that's your flat part. I'm sorry, that's the flat part.
No, part of the angle is...
it is. I'm sorry, Nathan.
Rumpus.
You're wrong.
Thank you. I don't need to be told I'm wrong when I'm replying. No, part of the angle measurement is a flat Earth. That's part of the measurement. It gives you a number with a degree attached to it. One of the lines goes to the star. One of the lines is a flat Earth. That is what the angle measurement is. And part of it is a flat Earth. It is still a measurement. It does and is in requirement of an Earth that's flat to be that measurement. It is a flat Earth measurement. It's part of the definition of it.
No, you're using a flat plane to make a vertical measurement.
Yes, so we're using a flat Earth to make a measurement. It's a flat Earth measurement. Earth is being measured flat. It's Earth measured flat. There's nothing wrong with my phraseology.
There is, there is, in that instance, there is, because the Earth is not being measured flat at that point, because you're not measuring anything along a horizontal. Within your claim, you're only calculating the horizontal after you've made a vertical measurement.
I'm not measuring along the horizontal. I'm measuring an angle with the horizontal. Let me just shout out Jade.
Yeah, but you're claiming...
Let me just do a shout out. 1 second. Shout out to Jade. It says, Brian and Witsit are correct here. Sorry, Nathan. Says you, Jade. You'll need more than $2 to expand out on that baseless assertion. I'm not wrong. Thank you for the super chat.
Sorry.
Well done.
The point is, you're not saying that you're referencing a flat plane. You're not saying that you're using flat. It's not hashtag using flat. It's hashtag measured flat. So the statement means that there's a measurement of flat. That's how it sounds. That's how it comes across.
There is.
But what's the measurement of flat within the elevation angle and celestial navigation?
It's the horizontal plane the observer is standing on. It's part of the measurement.
No, you're not measuring that. That was your claim the other day.
Very specific. Yes, you are. It's part of the definition. You're just telling me no. It's part of the bleeding definition. Yes, you are. It's an angle between the horizontal plane the observer is standing on and an imaginary line between you and the light in the sky. That is what you are measuring. It is a measurement. It is a flat Earth. It's part of the definition.
No, your statement is hashtag measured flat, not hashtag reference flat or hashtag using flat. Your statement is hashtag measured flat, and you're not making any horizontal measurement.
We're making an angle measurement. Part of the angle measurement is a flat Earth. I keep saying it over and over again.
Yeah, but that doesn't make the measurement that you're making. You stated the other day, right? You and John were very adamant that the only part of that whole process that's a measurement is the vertical angular measurement. That means there isn't a measurement along the adjacent within your claim.
You keep adding this word. You keep adding in along. Like along the adjacent. No, we're not measuring along the adjacent. We are measuring an angle with the adjacent.
Yeah, but the statement is hashtag measured flat.
Yeah, it is. On screen now is an angle measurement. Yeah? This is what I'm talking about. Part of this measurement is this line. It's marked on this diagram as horizontal. It's part of the bleeding measurement. This is the Earth, the ground, the horizontal plane of reference the observer is standing on. Part of the definition is the flat Earth that is the measure. It is a measurement of a flat Earth. It's a flat. I don't know how else I can phrase it. It's a flat
No,
Earth
it's a
measurement
measurement
because it's
using
part
a
of the
flat
angle.
plane.
This line,
No.
horizontal, that's part of this measurement.
What you're claiming is that the adjacent is only calculated. The only actual part of the whole process as a measurement is what you and John claimed the other day is the angle, which is a vertical measurement using a horizontal plane.
Yeah,
The
using a
statement
horizontal
measured flat.
plane. So the only way this measurement is possible is by using an Earth that's flat. Now I say that's an Earth that's flat that's being measured. All right, that's a bit convoluted. Better to just shorten that to measured flat.
See, the whole point of this was that when you said hashtag measure flat, that you had flat plane measurements.
Hold on, I've just got to give credit to JMels24. Brian and Witsit are wrong here. Sorry, Jardo. It's just like the same baseless assertion spewing super chat back and forth. That's just as bad a baseless assertion, JMels24, but I appreciate the humour. Thank you for the super chat. It got 7 likes.
Well, me and Witsit are talking about different things. But
That's not what he means. That's not what he means. It's just, it was spewed out as a baseless assertion by a super chatter that you were right and I was wrong. Now somebody else has just put the contrapositive with the same or slightly higher value super chat, but just to get a crack out of the audience, and it's had 10 likes.
Yeah, I understand the comedy. I do. Look, my point being is that from ask Adam, ask others, whoever, but from what I'm hearing is that you're contradicting yourself when you're stating that there is no horizontal measurement, and then using the term hashtag measure flat.
Didn't
The
say
whole point
that.
of measure flat was as a two-dimensional measurement between 2
I didn't
points.
say that. I didn't say there is no horizontal measurement. I didn't say that.
Well, you said that the adjacent is not measured.
The distance of the adjacent isn't measured until you calculate it after you've taken the angle. With respect to a flat Earth, you're measuring with that angle that you're measuring. You're measuring an angle. It's being measured. It's a measurement. What's the measurement? Flat Earth and a line to the star?
Yeah, but flat Earth is not a measurement, Nathan.
Yeah, it is.
No, flat Earth is not a measurement.
Yeah, the angle's the measurement.
No, but flat Earth is not a measurement.
It's part of the. It's one of the two lines. It's this line on the ground. It's this line on the ground called horizontal. It's part of the measurement.
A measurement has to have a unit.
Yes,
right?
degrees.
A unit, right? Now you're saying hashtag measure flat, and now but you're claiming that the horizontal part of the whole process is only calculated. That means you don't have a horizontal measurement.
I didn't say that. The horizontal part isn't calculated. It's the angle measurement with respect to this horizontal and the line up to the sun in this diagram. It's part of the measurement. The flat Earth is a prerequisite. It's fundamental. It's unequivocal. It can't be an angle measurement of elevation in this respect without using a flat Earth. It's part of it.
Yeah, but your statement, Nathan, is hashtag measured flat. Well, if you put that statement into surveying, you'll be talking about them measuring a distance, right, using a horizontal distance, right, between 2 points, regardless of their elevation above or below the horizontal. It'll be a horizontal distance on Earth between those 2 points. With aerospace, it'll be a horizontal distance between one airport and another, right? A straight line distance, right? That's a distance. So in this, you're saying that part of the process in celestial navigation is just a calculation. So you can't use the term measured flat if you're claiming that. You can't say that's just a calculation and claim to have measured flat use measure flat with that because you don't have a measurement. Of flat, you have a measurement of vertical.
But with latitude, you've got a direct extrapolation from angle to distance. Yeah? Now, it still requires you applying something to it that you already know in terms of what you've previously measured when you talk about latitude. But the latitude itself is a direct translation from angle. But the only aspect when you do just take an angle to the star, yeah, the only bit that's actually being measured is the angle. And what is the angle? An angle between a flat Earth and whatever, in this case, Polaris.
Yeah, that's fine, but your statement is not hashtag reference flat or hashtag use flat. The statement is hashtag measured flat.
Because we're measuring an angle. We could do this all
Yeah,
day.
but
Let me just shout out this
we
super
could,
chatter.
we're going around in circles here. I'm not
We
going to
are.
continue
Let's
on
just
doing
shout
this
out the
on the
super
show.
chatter. Jardo's expanded on it for $10, so he's keen. Thank you for the super chat. It's only when you include the GP does it assert a 0 degree. Only then becomes a measurement by virtue of the nautical mile to degree relationship. Yeah, that's kind of a much more concise way of trying to put what I just tried to put in terms of the translation with Polaris when dealing with latitude. Absolutely, Jardo. Yeah, good super chat. Thank you for the super chat.
Look, I've given my
you're talking
2
about
cents on this.
the second step.
I know I've kept you out of the
you're
loop for
talking about
ages,
the second
George. Just
step,
let
though.
Brian summarise his conclusion. It'll probably contradict me and reassert something again. But go ahead, Brian. Then you can go in, George, afterwards.
No, I've said my piece on the whole thing, right? I have no hassle with the term measured flat, but I don't see how you can use that or reference the celestial navigation if you're claiming the adjacent is just a calculation. For me, that doesn't make any sense. For me, that's a contradiction.
I didn't say the
Now,
adjacent is a calculation.
that's my 2 cents on it.
I didn't say that, though. I said the distance of the adjacent would be a calculation. The adjacent itself
but that
is the flat Earth part.
The adjacent is that length. The distance is the adjacent.
No, you're not getting a distance when you measure an angle. You can get that after,
Once
but the angle itself has got a flat Earth part of it.
No, no. Once you measure the angle, which is a vertical angle, once you've measured that, whatever that is, that then gives you the length along the adjacent, and that's what it does.
We're going around in these same circles again. Let's just hand over to George.
No,
you've said your piece. I've said mine.
No,
you've gone around in the circle 4 times.
Okay, if that's the way you want to go about it, fair enough.
You did. Look, you've had the last word.
I pointed out some stuff. It is contradictory. You disagree. You don't want to go. And now you're using different tactics.
I'm not using any different tactics. I just don't want to go around in the same circle 5 more times. George, go ahead.
No, yeah.
You guys talking about the second step. The first step is to measure the 90 degree. When you bring the celestial to the horizon at the tangent point and you say mark, you are measuring a 90 degree angle, the same angle that you're going to deduct the acute elevation angle from. Now, the elevation angle only happens, after you correct for whatever you have to correct. But the first step is to measure a 90 degree when you bring the celestial down to the surface. That's a measurement.
Yeah, but you're not. You don't have a 90 at that point, George. At that point, you do have to then use
yes,
corrections.
You do. You bring the celestial. No.
You've created,
there is nothing to correct.
The vertical, but you don't have the 90 yet until you do your dip correction. Then you have 90 at both the observer and the GP. Yeah.
On the scope, you have the crosshairs. You have a vertical line and a horizontal line. You have your horizontal on the horizon, right on the horizon as you rock the sextant, and you bring your horizon, your celestial mirror down with the celestial down at the tangent point at the 90 degree to the surface. So that imaginary line that goes up is actually the other way around. You bring the celestial down, just kissing the horizon. And when you mark, you measured 90 degrees. At the same time, you are measuring an acute angle to the 90 degree. That's a measurement, direct measurement. That's how you find your latitude.
Yeah, but George, that's a bit of a red herring because that's not the point that's being argued. The angle being a measurement.
You guys are talking about the second step, which is the elevation angle.
No,
the angle that goes from the observer
we're talking
to the
about
GP.
The statement, George. We're talking about the statement #measured flat. All right, that's far more. That, as far as I'm concerned, is a complete contradiction to Nathan's statement that the adjacent is just calculated. Because that way you don't have a flat measurement.
I didn't say that. About 5th time you've said that. Straw man me a bit more, why not? I didn't say that. I didn't say the adjacent is calculated.
That the adjacent is just calculated.
While I object, I did not say that, and I've clarified it now 5 times. No, the adjacent is not calculated. Now I'm getting rumpus again while I clarify that which is straw man with me 5 times. I haven't said that the adjacent's calculated. For clarity, I very specifically said the distance of the adjacent would be calculated. The adjacent itself is part of the measurement of an elevation angle. That's not saying the adjacent's calculated as you've strawed man with it fine. You're frustrating me.
Well, I didn't mean it
say that
way. That wasn't what I meant. No, okay, if you want to get want to be super pedantic about it, I'll be super pedantic.
Yeah, being super. This is what we do it in.
Okay. Right.
That's what we do it. We're being super pedantic.
Length is what you're claiming is calculated. Yes or no?
I didn't hear you because I was pointing out that this is a super pedantic. Just wait.
Yes or no?
Just wait. I can't hear you because you're chanting it through me. I'm trying to point out that, number one, this is super pedantic. That's what we are doing. Number two, because I was pointing out, I didn't get to hear your question because I was saying that when you started asking. Please ask again. Then I've got to answer. Then I've got to speak this super chat. If I could speak. Go ahead, Brian.
The adjacent length is what you're claiming is only calculated. Yes or no?
I'm saying the adjacent distance is a calculation.
That's the length of the adjacent, Nathan.
Yes.
Distance and length.
Yes.
Length. Why did you need to use distance when length and distance are the same thing? In this, I don't understand.
Distance.
That.
I'm not trying to bandy words in that regard. Length or distance, I don't care which word you use. Distance, length, that is calculated based off the angle that you measured that uses a flat earth as part of the measure.
Then. That would be
try and get a reply again. It's getting yammered through by Brian. Let's try that once again. The distance is a calculation. You get that distance calculation based on the measurement of an angle. That angle is an angle from a flat earth to a light in the sky. It's a measurement, no calculation involved. None. I'm not going to claim it is, because it isn't. It's a measurement of an angle, and that measurement very specifically requires a flat earth as part of that measurement. It's still a measurement. It's still a flat earth. That's it.
Yeah, you're using a flat earth.
But the distance is not from the adjacent anyway.
George,
the distance is from the
George.
angle.
Yeah, I am saying measured flat because it is a measurement and it is flat.
What's flat? The measurement you're claiming the only part of the process that's measured is vertical.
No, it's a line in the vertical from the
That's
two.
The point within your own claim.
The two are intrinsically linked, vertical and horizontal, in this regard. So a measurement in the vertical is with respect to the horizontal, and in this case, it's with respect to a horizontal that is the flat earth you're standing on, because it's part of the definition of this measurement.
A measurement is a number in units.
Yeah,
right?
Degrees in this case.
Right. You don't have a number in units of measurement along the horizontal.
No,
Within
for the
your
fifth,
claim,
bleeding, sixth time, no, I'm not claiming you have got a measurement of distance. That's a straw man because I'm not suggesting you have. That's a calculation for the sixth time.
Yeah, it's not a straw man. I'm pointing out the contradiction.
Not a contradiction just because it's not what you want it to be.
Contradicting yourself.
Just not being distance measurement doesn't mean it's not a measurement. It's just not a distance measurement.
It's not a horizontal measurement.
Yeah, it is. It's part of the measurement of the angle. A horizontal plane the observer is standing on is very specifically part of the definition of this measurement.
Okay, I have an elevation angle of 60 degrees. What's the horizontal measurement?
It would be the baseline that the 60 degrees has come from. It's intrinsic to the fact that you just give him I'm answering you. It's intrinsic to the number that you just gave. The 60 comes from the horizontal plane of reference that the observer would be standing on if that's an elevation angle measurement. If you say 60 elevation angle measurement, then I know immediately that it's come from a flat earth because it's a flat earth measurement. It can only be done from a flat earth. That number comes from the flat earth. It's the horizontal in the measurement.
You don't have a horizontal measurement. You're using a horizontal. You don't have a measurement of a horizontal.
The measurements of a degree with respect to the horizontal that's part of the measurement.
Yeah, with respect to a horizontal, but the horizontal is not being measured within your claim. Within your claim,
it's an elevation angle measurement.
Using horizontal plane.
Yeah, it's an elevation angle measurement, and that measurement specifically requires a flat earth for it to be that measurement.
But that's not your statement. Your statement is not hashtag using flat, hashtag referencing horizontal or referencing flat. It's hashtag measure flat. But you're not measuring anything flat there.
Okay, let me just ask you this. Is it an elevation angle? Let me just ask Brian this. Is it an elevation angle reference? Is that what we call it?
We call it an elevation angle measurement.
So should I just change my terminology? Because when we take an elevation angle measurement of a flat Earth and a line to the star, I can't say that measurement is a flat Earth measurement because the measurement isn't of distance. Is that correct?
No, you can say that's a flat Earth measurement, but when you say hashtag
So I can say it's a flat Earth measurement.
yeah.
Yeah, I will. Earth is measured flat. That is a flat Earth measurement. Elevation angle measurement is a flat Earth measurement. I will say it's a flat Earth measurement because it is a flat Earth measurement. Glad we got to the conclusion finally.
That's brilliant, but hashtag measured flat is not.
Yeah, it's a flat Earth measurement, and I shorten it to a hashtag of measured flat because it's a flat Earth measurement, elevation angle measurement, but hashtag it's a flat Earth measurement, elevation angle measurement isn't as catchy. It's just a hashtag. But Earth is measured flat. Hashtag measured flat. There's no problem here.
I have no hassle with the use of the hashtag measure flat. No, I don't use it myself, but I understand that I have no hassle with
This
it.
is 21. There'll be. I assure you, there'll be a 22nd time. We will do this again.
I have no hassle with it, but the other day, right, you wanted to get very pedantic with me when I was just trying to point some stuff out.
Yeah, about Neil.
I'm trying to point out a contradiction in two things.
There isn't one.
A statement you're making. There is a contradiction, and I'm trying to point it out. You don't want to accept it. Now, I'm not going to go any further with this on the show. I want to leave it at that. At least people make up their minds or whatever, agree or disagree with me. I've made my position clear on it.
Jolly good. We'll do it again. It was good fun, and I like doing it. This is more fun because, number one, I know that Brian knows his stuff, and there's going to be points that you can hear back if you listen to that little tete-a-tete between Brian and I, where I'm stuttering and stammering because I'm getting frustrated by him. Because Brian can tie me up in knots like no Glober can, right? I'm dealing with my own kind now, and they're the people who can get one over on me and will push me into a corner and get concessions. Doesn't mean I can't get them out of Brian, though. It is measured flat. Yeah, I know. My hashtag measured flat.
It's more difficult. No, don't get me wrong. It's more difficult debating you or Adam or anyone else. John.
You're not kidding.
Like, even though I was going loggerheads with John, and I often do, John is a legend. People shouldn't get that wrong. That I'm somehow against
Absolutely
John.
Correct.
Not.
Right.
But
that's why we're all sharp, right? We keep each other sharp. When we get accused of being an echo chamber, the most vitriolic debates that we have are between each other. That's when we really lose our temper with each other. Now, most people don't realise that we're quite often like that behind the scenes if we're having phone calls and discussing something, because it's usually contentious. Therefore, it'll end in a row. But if you only get to see a few examples of that on a live stream, you don't appreciate that. And I don't say it always happens. Like 99 times out of 100, it's all forgotten about the following day. I mean, it might come up again, and it might end up in the same vitriolic discussion with a lot of heat going on it. But that's because we are sharpening each other up, and we all are of like mind in that regard. So hence, we've all gravitated towards each other, excuse the pun, for that reason, because we all want to be sharper. So being challenged by our brothers in arms internally is how we become that sharp. Us disagreeing, it's just frustrating when somebody from the periphery of our tightly knit group, which it is, disagrees for reasons that seem benign or idiotic or not worthy of debate. This is absolutely, it's as pedantic as it gets. When it gets to the semantics of things like hashtags, I'm more than happy to debate this, and I'll do it until someone refines it. Because eventually, where does this end? If someone's like, well, why do you keep noting the number of times that we've done it? Because that's the number of times the mill's turned. That's all that means. How fine the flour comes out at the end is a different story. But that's what we're looking for, right? We want the refinement of our arguments. Now, we're not being sharpened up by our globe-believing brethren, are we? They're not sharpening our wits. On the contrary, they're very easy to behead in seconds. So where do we actually get sharp? That's why I'm smiling from ear to ear, because it's these times. Now, don't get me wrong. It's trying to keep a handle on it when you're running a live show and it's Brian and Refracted, for example, and they're just losing their tempers with each other, and you've got to kind of keep them off each other's backs. But that's like, bear cubs fighting, isn't it? They are going to be at each other's necks. That's how they fight. Anyway, enough of that.
I think people should realise, because I saw some comments on the video, the live from the live show the other day, or the show the other day that me and John were arguing on, and I saw some comments there where people were suggesting that I was going for refracted, and as if there was some rivalry there, and there is a debate rivalry often with me and John, or now and again. But what I don't think people realise is that I have absolutely zero ill will towards John. And even if I debated him for a full day, which I kind of did one time, I still have zero ill will. He's still my friend, and I'm still totally loyal to him. Even if I argued with you and left the show and didn't come back on like Anthony Riley, I'm still totally loyal to you. So I think these people don't realise that it's not personal with us.
Exactly, that's a better example. So Anthony Riley does have a tendency to get the hump with people. But as we've described in the past, there's various different stages. And in terms of our interpersonal relationships with Anthony Riley, I know exactly where the line lies, and the fact that I've come absolutely nowhere near it when he's stumped off the show in a huff because we'd have a disagreement like Brian and I have just had one. I know full well that in a given period of time, Anthony will just, come back like nothing's happened. It might not be the next day like we're describing here in the example, and that's an over-exaggerated example. People do fall out over contentious issues within the debate. Sometimes on the live show, sometimes behind the scenes, but we never, in my experience to date, there's very few of us that, even the ones that have strayed away, it hasn't been for those reasons. Very, very seldom will someone fall out over a contentious point on topic and then go, I'm never talking to you again. Now, they will say that. It doesn't mean that they'll mean it or it'll ever actually happen. It doesn't happen, in fact. And I've been saying that for months with Anthony Riley. He's actually had a lot on, which doesn't surprise me in the slightest. And he wanted to tell me all about it when he next got in touch. He's like, this is all the stuff that's happened. This is what I've been dealing with. And none of it was related to what it stormed off the show about. That didn't even come up. So all the people who are in the periphery go, Anthony's... No, you just don't know the general relationships between everybody on the show. And most of us quite close.
Yeah.
Go on.
Well, I'm glad this happened while Refracted wasn't here. Because if he was here, oh boy, he would have been taking you back.
Yeah, the thing about it is I think people need to understand that just because we might argue and that on the show here and whatever else, and it becomes kind of public, I don't think the people think that means the cracks are showing, it's falling apart. It's like, no. You know what I mean? You have it completely wrong there. Like.
Yeah, especially
totally wrong.
Well, you're focused in on a very sharp blade, and under high degrees of magnification, you go, "Wow, that looks rough." And you're like, and look, they're smashing another sword against it. Isn't that going to make that tiny little chink worse? And you're looking at 1,000 magnification of this very sharp blade, and you know what happens when the other blade hits it? It gets a bit sharper. Amazing, isn't it? Now zoom out. What is it? It's a giant blade coming towards your throat. But you're criticising it 1,000 times magnification as we have these tete-a-tetes about something very, very pedantic and the semantics of phraseologies and hashtags. It's like, that's not as falling apart at the seams. No. You've got a very deluded idea of what's going on here. Anyway, let me do a few super chat shout-outs. Shout out to Iron26 says, flat measurement is the same as hashtag measured flat. So yeah, I think he's referring to the bit where Brian said, well, yeah, I agree, it's flat measurement. Yep, same diff as far as I'm concerned. Also, shout out to Shatner's Bassoon. You flat earthers and your echo chamber. Yeah, right, exactly. Echoing the sentiments of earlier. Hashtag measured flat says Croquet. Thank you very much for the super chat. I think that's it. Did I miss any? Don't think I missed any. Thank you very much for all the super chats. No, I didn't. That's it.
Keep them coming.
We've still got a few minutes left on this live show, by the way.
Sorry?
We've still got a while left.
We got a few minutes.
I didn't even get to the point where I needed to ask somebody if they had a video. We've kept George out of this conversation for about 25 straight minutes. He's very patient.
Right, just real quick, if we're still got a couple of seconds of the live show, might as well promote politics tomorrow. Just let everybody know we're going to be there.
Okay.
But you know the way you do it, not the way I do it.
Well, I'll do it with disclaimers. So, owing to the fact that I'm poor and the government says I should be earning more money, I've got a job centre appointment, which I absolutely do not want to be attending when I'm self-employed and haven't had to do such things for about 5 years. And that appointment was actually on Saturday just gone, but I woke up with a twisted knee and couldn't go, and they've rearranged the appointment for this Friday. So hence I won't be here to do that because I'll be at my job centre. The last possible thing I want to be doing on a Friday, especially as it precludes me from earning money. And that's what they're going to be asking me about. Why aren't you earning more money? What can you do to earn more money? So I've got to go and talk about TikTok and various other boring stuff. Anyway, that's what I'll be doing on Friday. As a result, there'll obviously be no interaction with the politics Discord server as there would be usually, because we've now literally got a regular time slot. We have arranged that in case you were unaware as an audience member. Behind the scenes, we've arranged that we will pretty much permanently be going in on a Friday to the politics server to expand out the measured flat ethos. So that's what we've been doing for a while, if you have been keeping up, and we will continue to do so. But because I can't, I've asked them to rearrange it for Thursday, which is tomorrow if you're actually watching live. So be here or be sphere tomorrow, which is Thursday, for the politics Discord server, which would typically be on a Friday, but has been moved forward to Thursday. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow. So check it out. If you did want to join, I do ask the moderators of the live stream to put the link to the politics server in the live stream as we're there, so you can join as a new member. It's a fantastic server. So if you did want to join, if you are watching tomorrow, you should do so. I tend not to give it overtly lengthy plugs while I'm actually in the middle of answering fundamentalist zealots' questions about globe Earth. But now that we're not doing that, yeah, definitely if you're watching tomorrow and you see a link go by, join the politics server. It's good. Is that good enough plug?
Oh yeah, that was great.
I didn't hear that.
Good. I said that was great. That was really good.
Oh, well, jolly good. Oh, well, I'm being praised. Happy days. I really enjoyed today's discussion, by the way, Brian. I live for these days.
Yeah, it's just one of those ones that have to happen. You know, what can you do? But you know, but people do. There is a lot of people out there who want, Nathan. They want to see cracks in the FED. They want to see it all fall apart. Like, but the whole point of FED is that nobody leaves anyone off with that, and nobody just accepts something if they're not happy. But they bring up the topic, whatever. You know, that's why things that we have discussions that we had today is like, that's the whole point. It's not an echo chamber, and that's what keeps it being what it is. You know, I get called out, you get called out, everyone gets called out, and that's just the way it is, and it keeps things real. You know, we don't get a chance to rest on our laurels because our laurels can change. You know, you're only as good as your last gig. It's kind of the way it is, and you have to prove yourself every day. Just because you were good yesterday doesn't mean that you have that good to say today. You know, you have to prove it, that kind of a thing. And there's a lot of people out there. It's like as if they want to see it fall apart or something. You know, on the flat Earth side as well. I don't know what that's about, but
well, there's nothing new, is there, from the globe Earth side? You could suggest that when we debate, or when I debate, even someone brand new tomorrow, that discussion is rehearsed on my part, and you go, well, yeah, it is, because there's nothing new under the sun as far as globe Earth claims are concerned. So I said it in much of the last politics debate. We've had this from a fundy 1,000 times. You're not original, which means that my responses aren't original. Now they've been refined. You know, they might be subtly different to what they might have been 6 months ago, but my point is the overall response is going to be much of a muchness each time. Little bits might get missed that John will pick up on in terms of, he said up then. You'll need a flat plane for it, nudge, nudge. You've missed it. But aside from those little asides, everything stays pretty much the same with our discussions with the opponents. Now, if you go back to the beginning of the debate, go to debate 200 or something, and listen to how frustrated I get by our opponents, it's the same as me with Brian today, because I don't know what's coming. Nothing's been refined. It's all new. I'm right in at the deep end, as is everyone around me. Anthony Riley, for example, as he's come up already, might as well use him in this example. He and I are discovering the undoing of the globe as we go, while in debate. So we're very much at a position of disadvantage, and you can hear us getting frustrated with our opponents, because they're well rehearsed in the same arguments we deal with to this day. Nothing's changed. But back then, they were the ones well rehearsed in their arguments. We were the ones completely blind, not knowing where we're going, running around like headless chickens, getting frustrated by our opponents who know better than us. When they're using flat Earth to make their claims, all the things we'd pull apart now are very different to back then. But when I'm up against Brian, this is my point, by the way. When I'm up against Brian or John or QE or 10th Man or Neil or somebody who's on my side, that's when you get thrown the curveballs. That's when they've gone through the same training I have. They've got the same refinement to a globe Earth discussion, but that's not what we're having. When did we discuss the semantics of a hashtag? We've actually done it 20 times previous. This is 21st. That's not my point. When has that been done before? You haven't. There's not been 1,000 times we've done it. There's been 21. Yeah? In the last month. But that's where you'll see the perceived cracks at 1,000 times magnification on a very sharp blade. So if you are of the ilk that you want to see us stuttering and stammering like our opponents do, encourage debate between ourselves, because like Brian said, this is not an echo chamber. Nothing slides. Often we're at loggerheads internally. Yeah, it doesn't mean we won't all unite with the same refined argument against a fundy. In fact, we'll be fighting over each other to take blood from them. You know, that absolutely is still the case. But if you want to hear somebody getting frustrated and someone like John swearing, you don't normally hear that when we're live, but you will if he's up against me. You will if he's up against QE. You will if Paula comes into the discussion because she's disagreed with something we've said. Then you'll hear people stuttering and stammering on the flat Earth side because it's something they haven't come up against before.
Yeah, the flat Earth debate is within flat Earth. It's not flat versus globe. People have that mixed up now. The globe is done. So because we know what they're going to come up with. You know what they have. You could nearly debate not everyone, but you could nearly just debate a baller while playing Fortnite and win outright simply because you just know exactly what they're doing, exactly what's coming. You know what their arguments are inside out. It's only a rehash of the same old, tired rhetoric. Whereas on the flat Earth side, there is actually things to debate about. Because we are
I'll get into that in a second. Just going to read out some super chats, and I've missed some because I've been enjoying the discussion too much. Right, you forgot to read out my retort to Jardot. Unacceptable. I'm starting to think Brian is right. Just saying, says Jamal's24. I'm going to scroll up and see if I can find your retort. I'm really sorry if I missed a super chat. But yeah, in terms of Fortnite, I do actually want it to just look visually pretty. So when often you've just spent an hour or two with the slides going through, there's only 90 minutes of them. So when they start to repeat, I'm like, I really want something to distinguish this part of the show from the last couple of hours. I think it was JMels24. Yeah, Jardo. But if you exclude the GP and only focus on the angle, it's two straight lines meeting at a vertex. Hashtag measured flat. Thank you for the super chat. I'm going to give that a heart because you're agreeing with me. Thank you for all these super chats. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I want it to look visually nice. But you've just voiced something that I've never said out loud, but would be kind of not a dream of mine or anything. I'm not a gamer. But to be so relaxed in what I'm doing that I'm just battling somebody on a video game and verbally smashing the living daylights out of somebody who's claiming the Earth's a sphere, and then getting a victory royale whilst taking their head off verbally. That's the aim, right? That's the dream you have in that battle, and it's like this guy's casually playing a game whilst undoing an entire world paradigm. That to me is kind of cool.
Yeah, couldn't have done that 10 minutes ago, though.
With Brian, absolutely. You know, my eyes are closed. I'm focusing on what he's saying, trying not to interrupt him, so I seem like the better man when he does it to me. You know, it's all going through your head.
Yeah, using all the tactics.
Well, yeah, because it does. When you're getting flustered, don't lie and say this isn't true. When you're getting flustered or frustrated by somebody, you've experienced so many of those tactics that you know when a good time to drop one in is. As in, it won't get noticed by the audience, but this will buy me a couple of seconds and shut down the response I don't want. I'll do it, you'll do it.
Yeah.
It's not because it is because we're weak. It's what you do when you're stuttering and stammering. That's my point, right? It's just no other way of putting it. It's a sign of weakness.
We do use fallacy. Refracted. He's constantly using straw man arguments when you're debating him. Constantly at it. right? It's something he does. It's like, so you're saying this? It's like, that's not what I'm saying. So you don't get a chance to say what you're trying to say because you have to explain that that's not what you're saying. And then he starts screaming that he has the win, even when he knows he doesn't have, just to rile you up. Do you know what I mean?
We all do
he
it.
knows he's using logical fallacy at that point, but he's using it in such a way where he's bringing himself around to his own. He's bringing the audience around to his side, kind of thing. Even if he hasn't won yet, if you know what I mean.
And maybe it's a good thing, maybe it's a bad thing. The fact that we can employ tactics when there is no need for us to employ tactics. But by the same token, you'll see those tactics employed when it's Brian on QE or QE on Paula, or, you know, internal discussions and debates that are happening. And those typically don't necessarily revolve around a globe. They're normally flat earth arguments that are contentious, that are being debated, like this, like hashtag measured flat. Anyway.
Well, I will. What I do, I try not to use fallacy. I try not to use things that. But what I will do is I will say. So you're saying this. So what are you saying? You're saying this or you're saying that? And I'll be not giving the person the chance to go off on another tangent. I'm going to be kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to hold them in a corner and shoot them with a machine gun. If you know what I mean. That I will use that, and so that frustrates people because I'll come across as they're about to say something and I'll jump straight on it. I won't give them a chance to get to the end of the sentence because I know where that sentence is going, and I'm going to jump on this right now and ask them, "Is that what you mean?" Do you know what I mean? So you're not saying that, you're saying this then. So what are you saying? Because you said a minute ago you said that. So it's a lot of keeping them on their toes, having them having to answer things, kind of like that. That if you. I don't know if you could call it a tactic. That's just the way I do it. But I try my best not to use strawman arguments and stuff, unless sometimes there is a need for one, where you strawman someone because they won't be clear about their actual claim. So I'll strawman someone, so then they have to be clear about their claim. So you're not claiming that. What are you actually claiming? And then they have to be clear about their claim. So I've done that with borders, but that's more something I do with borders.
Okay, so yesterday there was a discussion that was taking place in the after show, and it came up as a result of one deck, and he was asking about 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles when making latitude measurements. But the question was in regards to 1 degree for every 69 miles. And Brian has actually got a video on this, and I didn't notice this till just now. He'd shared it in the back office Master B chat that we have. So I've just popped a link to this in the live stream chat, so that if you are, like One Deck, interested in this particular description, then you can check it out on Brian's Logic's channel. And you can also subscribe if you haven't done so already. You've enjoyed the dulcet tones of the last hour. I'm sure you'll enjoy a few of his videos if you're not subscribed. This video is called 6904 Horizontal Miles per Degree. And it's on the Brian's Logic YouTube channel. So check it out. Be here or be sphere. Give him a like. Let him know at Nathan Oakley 1980 sent me, right, Brian?
Yes.
Because you won't know otherwise.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Right, with that, I'm going to say, first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. But if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow.
In the flat earth.
The tiles that you know the length of already.
All right, then let me do it this way. Well, yeah, you know the measurement anyway. Even if I measure it on the floor, I measure just a certain amount and then just add the rest on. It's still you're knowing a measurement. Is that correct? Like I know the measurement, so I'm still measuring. I'm not calculating. I might be adding it up, but it's still a measurement, you're saying.
Yeah, but in this case, yeah, you get the distance from the co-altitude.
Now, I see both points,
Yeah.
to be honest. I don't know who's right.
It doesn't matter who's right. But Neil, it doesn't matter. the more we argue about this, the more people listening to the argument, because they're trying to figure out who's right or wrong, will understand the process. Because what are we doing? We're detailing the process over and over and over again, and then going through the finite details of the intricacies of how the process, let's just call it that for now, is measured, referenced, utilized, all these different words, right? What are we describing with every single time we argue with it? Are we ever arguing about the sphericity? No.
No, you
What are we arguing about?
always measure flat Earth. It
Right,
always
but
goes back to flat Earth.
exactly. It educates the audience on how it's measured by Brian and I debating this. Best case scenario for a debate show is this. This is it. This is as good as it gets for us as flat earthers on a debate show, Brian, Neil. And
yeah,
of course,
I'd have to agree.
oh,
I'd have
sorry.
to agree because I kind of stepped in on your. Neil, if you got something to say, I'll go after you. I kind of stepped in on you. I just go. I have to agree because I've listened to a lot of people who, like Amanda Lower Lodge, for instance. I started to know he was on the debate team or some kind of debate guy in university or something, let's say, right? Just as an example. Now, I've listened to some within other arenas, people debating, because we do so much debating in this arena. I will be attracted here and there to listen to other people debating on different topics, see how well they do. Some people do very well, right? Some people are very good debaters. But when it comes to this topic, there's such an emotional involvement in the topic that it makes it the most difficult topic to debate. I would say that there is, right? And consequently, no matter how good you are in university at debating political stuff or whatever, when it comes to this topic here, right, because we're dealing with the nature of art, right, nature of our reality, it's a lot more difficult to bring those skills into this arena. So this is the hardest debating arena that there is. There's no, and I would say that on FED, there is no, I would say that FED and the people who follow it, not just all the people on the panel, but the people who follow it as well, that there's probably top of the chain for debaters within the flat earth community. I don't know, there'll be some others outside, but I'm not saying there's no one, but in general, FED and those who follow it and listen to it and use the arguments in Discord and stuff like that, that they will probably be the top of the chain as far as flat earth debaters go. And this arena is the most difficult arena to debate in. So technically, a good debate between two flat earthers in this at the FED level in this arena is probably the best debate you're going to hear anyway. That's what I would say. Because I've listened to other debates and they're easy because there's no emotional content involved. You don't have to deal with that. You know, politics is mostly just tactics and nonsense. There's some people very good at it, but it's not the same thing. You know, and other topics, social topics, they just don't have the same, even no matter how controversial they are, they don't have the same weight behind them. This is the nature of your reality and where you live, what it is. And that is what makes this so difficult of an arena. So no matter how good someone's skills are in university, when they come into this arena, they might get a shock very fast when they're debating someone who never went to university, but just spent time in this arena. And they'll get out-debated by someone in this arena, which is what happened to Amanda Lower Lodge. He got out-debated by people. Like, he ended up threatening Michael Kahn. Do you know what I mean? Why? Because Michael Kahn was pointing out things. Like, if you're a good debater, you should know when you have a winning argument or not. He's not a good debater because he didn't even know if he just pre-assumed he had a good argument. You know, things like that. So this arena and this part of this arena is probably the highest level of debating that you will find anywhere in any topic. That's my opinion. I don't know if who'd agree with that or not.
I would obviously agree. I say we're at the top of the tree in terms of hyperspecificity and standards that are set for any given debate topic. The standards that are set for us are as high as they get. And the requirement for being a squeaky clean image, personality, is also as high as it gets in terms of standards, higher than politicians, because of the desire by our opponents to, what's the word you use, Brian? Assassination or something. I can't remember the words you use.
Character assassination.
Character assassination. The level of character assassination that we suffer is so high that puts another high standard upon us. And there's lots of those. I'm just naming a couple.
Well, Nathan, you know yourself.
Can I just agree with Brian? Can I just agree with Brian?
Disagree,
and say that
definitely.
That's exactly
definitely. Go ahead.
That's exactly what I said 2 weeks ago.
I agree. You did say it 2 weeks
Good
ago.
one, Georgie.
You know yourself, Nathan. Everyone here on the flat outside knows this. You get one little thing wrong publicly, right? Especially if you've made any kind of a name for yourself in the arena. You get one thing wrong, and the opposition will never leave it down. But they can get 100 things wrong in a day, and the next day it's all washed away because they do it so often. So you get one thing wrong as a flat earther, you make one mistake, and like Nathan will never stop hearing about how many kilometers or meters were in a kilometer. Anthony Riley will never stop hearing about the time he mixed up to two different Foucault. I think it was two different Foucaults, wasn't it? There was two Foucaults or something like that. He mixed up. He'll never stop hearing about that. Now, you can count the amount of big mistakes that were made like that from Anthony on probably one hand, if you'd even need all your fingers for that. But a baller can get things wrong, constantly get things wrong, and they all just accept that they all got things wrong. However, and they just carry on like nothing happened.
The Anthony Riley one was hysterical because basically he was drunk and found out that there was a different Foucault who was a drunk, right? A miscreant, or whatever the word is. So the irony is that while drunk, he mistook one Foucault for another, and the Foucault that he was discrediting by character assassination was a drunk.
That's funny.
Well, it's ironic, isn't it?
Yes, very. What was your error, Nathan? With math. It was something with math, right?
Converting meters to kilometers. Or the other way around, I forget which.
Well, every time I said every time I heard Samuel Rowbotham's name being brought up in this arena in the past 9 years, every time it was brought up with ballers there, someone had to state, either write or state, that he was dishonest. Now, I have seen no evidence. I can't say that there isn't evidence of him being dishonest. All I'll say is that in all those years, no one was ever able to actually produce or actually went about producing evidence that he is dishonest. So,
they did for me. What they would do for me with Rowbotham, this is going back a long time, so my memory is a little bit vague. But what they'd do is they'd say he's dishonest, and you go, well, what proof have you got? And then they refer to the court case. And you're like, what, the court case that he lost makes him dishonest? They're like, yeah. But because the court case went in favour of their globe, they take that as a double win. One that shows he's dishonest and one that shows it's a globe because he lost his court case.
Yeah, I think I had that put to me too, which is total projection, because the truth is that he then proved his position after that, but they never addressed that. So the people, they literally try to hide that fact about what he did with Wallace after that, with a judge there, and the judge ruled in his favour that he was correct. But the history seems to forget that part. But the point is that their evidence for Rowbotham being dishonest is totally weak. It's not true. I mean, you can lose a court case. That doesn't make you dishonest. It's not true that I have seen any evidence for that he was dishonest. But yes, all these people will straight out on the internet, from person to person, in a debate any way they can, on television, state that Rowbotham was dishonest. So they're completely character assassinating you.
Yeah.
If you're a flat earther and you get one, even if he say did one stupid thing, just one thing stupidly that he might have regretted afterwards, even if he did, that's the thing that's the only thing they'll remember. They'll never remember anything good he did. Sorry.
Yeah, well, there's certain individuals that lean on that in terms of their desire to discredit us, and those are the ones that, when they actually do something heinous, I'll be the first to point it out indefinitely. Like, well, you can claim we are scumbags because of reasons and never provide any evidence, but what we'll do is take your scumbag example and hold that up because it's categorically true about you. And most of the time, it's the ones that are shouting loudest about how scummy we are that you can dig up the scumbaggery on. In other words, it's typically projection. Like, if you want to look for scumbaggery, go and listen to who's claiming everyone else is a scumbag.
Yeah, they're who protest the most, isn't it? Often the case. You know, they're who has the biggest voice, calling, pointing fingers everywhere. Is often the person who's more guilty than anyone. You know.
Yeah.
You know, look at someone like McToon. How dishonest is he? Yet he'd call you dishonest in a moment, without evidence. But he is unbelievably dishonest. The guy's a fraud. But yet he'll turn around or he'll do his best to character assassinate flat earthers as much as possible without evidence.
Yeah, there's
There's
plenty
the guy who
of
asks
examples in the
how
anti-flat Earth camp. Sorry, go ahead, whoever that was.
There's the guy who's asking how do these elevation angles work on a flat plane.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't in any way want to correct Brian when he says he's a fraud. That's a perfect example of Toon being a fraud.
Well, the point is that he knows what they are. He knows they require a horizontal baseline. He knows that the adjacent length is a horizontal, and that could be in hundreds and thousands of miles. Yet he wants to ask you, how do they work on a flat plane? Now that's totally dishonest. You know, it's totally dishonest to ask that question. Yes, he's willing to do it. So, but he'd be the
How
first
do you have
person
circles of
to
equal
use his channel
altitude
to
on a flat
character.
Earth?
Go on, George. Sorry, go on.
How do you have circles of equal altitude on a flat Earth?
Yeah, that's the kind of
how do
stupid
you have
question he's
circles
asking.
on a flat plane?
Exactly. Yeah, we can rehash these examples that are absurd and contradictions in terms of them as many times as we like, because that's what Toon does. Yes.
I'll point out something, because he's directly involved in it, is, you know, this final experiment nonsense, right?
Someone asked about that in the
Now,
super chat. Did you hear me shout that out at the end? Someone says, have you heard the news? No. What news?
I did hear someone saying something about that, hear the news or something about that. Now, I wanted to address that a week ago, and I didn't because I was sick. So in the evening time, I was just asleep. Whereas I made a video last night on it. Now, you may not be happy with what I have in the video, Nathan, because I pointed out, one of the things I pointed out was that it's designed for people to chase red herrings. So when you see the final experiment, right, you're going to correct that that's not an experiment, right? And you want to focus on it, how it's not an experiment, which it's not, right? And that's correct, but that's actually a red herring. Or the fact that it's a begging the question fallacy, is they're claiming is that if the Earth is a globe, we'll have a 24-hour sun in the Antarctic summer, right? We do have a 24-hour sun in the Antarctic summer, so the Earth's a globe. So it's a permanent consequence, right? So the thing about that is that that's another red herring. And this is what I pointed out in the video. Now, you can give me your opinions on it, because I'd like to hear them. And
I'm with you so far. Don't disagree.
The point... what's going on there is twofold. One, they want as many flat earthers as possible to agree, right, with them that if there is a 24-hour sun in the Antarctic summer, then that means the Earth is a globe, right? And the reason they want that is they know there's a large contingency of flat earthers who will stupidly agree to that, but then will later on actually go back and say, hang on, it doesn't actually prove that, right? Because it doesn't, right? And it will be pointed out to them that it doesn't. And what happens then? They try and flip-flop back to their original stance, right? And what do the reporters do then? They're going to use that as making out that the flat earthers are either inept and don't understand what they're talking about, so they're flip-flopping from one position to another. That means that that person can't be trusted because they can't make a correct decision, or that they're dishonest, right? So either way, it's a character assassination. So the first point I made about was that they're using this as a form of character assassination, which they will use against us. But the other point, and this is really kind of the biggest point. Just 1 second. Just give me 1 second, George. This is the biggest point, right? Is what they're trying to do, right, is take the past 10 years of us destroying them, pulling their paradigm apart, right? Showing that the horizon's not the geometric edge of a globe, showing that the Earth is not rotating, that the Earth is flat, it's measured that way, it's navigated that way, showing that that every time we address reality, that we're addressing a flat stationary plane, showing that they're using a flat stationary plane, everything, right? They want to take all that 10 years, right, go to Antarctica, hope to see a 24-hour sun, and then hand wave it away. And that's what they're looking to do. It's the final hand wave is what they're, because what else have they got? And that was my point about it. Those 2 points about what they're trying to do with get flat earthers to agree to something that they shouldn't be agreeing to, and to the 2 main points was and that they're looking to use this as a hand wave. The hand wave away the black swan, hand wave away gas pressure of a container, hand wave away celestial navigation, aerospace, all these things. They want to hand wave them things away. And that's what they're trying to do at present. Go on, George, sorry.
No, it's just to try to understand how does the sun elevation above a horizontal plane will prove a sphere?
It won't.
I see. So
But George,
if anything, they will prove a horizontal plane.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's not about what the see. It's not about what they'll see. It's not about what it will prove. It's about how they can use it. They know it doesn't prove a globe, right? But if they can use that to hand wave away all this past 10 years, they will do it. And if they can character assassinate flat earthers in the process by getting them to agree to a stupid term that they will then flip flop on, they go, hang on, 6 months later, that actually doesn't do that. You know what I mean? The flat earthers will do that. And if they can get flat earthers to do that, they make flat earthers look stupid, and they'll have something they can present to the public who won't know any different as some kind of epic globe proof. And they can hand wave away when it's not a proof of a globe at all. And they can hand wave away the past 10 years. And that is their tactic, because that's, from what I can see, that's all they've got left. What do you think, Nathan?
Maybe.
Yeah, they're still confusing science and geometry.
Sorry to be. There's a lot of flat earthers who are still not using this, like we spoke about today, about just simply explaining how it's measured flat and using the elevation angle and the luminaries above the horizontal. They're not there. You know, we heard Dave Wise the other day. I mean, that's all he talks about, the bloody sun. So we've not got any chance at the moment because a lot of the flat earthers are just not on this level. Pardon the pun.
What can I do? I've appealed to these people. I've tried to get in front of them. You know, it's like that incel that's trying to get laid. You know, I've gone up to them, I've approached them, I do smell nice, I have had a shave, I have had my haircut. They all just tell me to go away. So what can I do from that point of view? I've approached Jaron, I've approached Dave. I've got no lines of communication.
Forget about them. Hold on. Don't. Forget about them. We do what we do here, and that's it.
Yeah, but one depth objection is, what hope have we got if we've got people like Dave constantly yammering on about the sun and not referencing the only measurement that's taken for the sun and how useful that is for telling time, finding your way around the ground, all things related to a flat earth, maybe. He's not doing any of those. And I'm saying, what can I do? I've tried to get in front of Dave and explain to him how, for example, science works, and he shut me down. He doesn't want to hear it. So, you know, I'm asking one deck, what can I do?
You can't do anything, Nathan. QE already addressed this issue. He asked flat earthers, what are you going to do? And what did flat earthers do? When he pointed out the dishonesty and the nonsense with Jaron and other people, what did flat earthers do? They stayed subscribed.
And what did he also say? What did he also say, Brian? The biggest detriment to flat Earth is flat earthers.
It is.
And he was
because,
right.
Yeah, absolutely, Neil.
Yeah, but
that's the whole point.
I don't want to encourage people to unsubscribe when there's people who have an audience and a reach that can bang a drum that's effective. If we could only appeal to them to do so. Now, we're not charging them for the drum. We're offering the drum for free. So, saying, well, QE's idea was to tell everyone to unsubscribe from the poisonous flat earthers. No, shouldn't we try and squeeze the pus out?
Better off subscribing and pushing the point home more.
Well, he didn't even say. He just said, "Flat earthers, what are you going to do?" In other words, are you going to? He didn't even say they should unsubscribe, although that was kind of one part of the implication. It's like, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep supporting these people, or are you not? And they kept supporting them. You can't do anything about that.
And look at this whole non-experiment thing they're doing. Look at the attention that this nonsense is getting from flat earthers. I feel like we're just speaking to the air.
I reckon there's more bigger names involved in that than just MacToon and that. There could be bigger names in the background. I reckon it could end up getting a lot of media attention, mainstream media attention up to a point, or somewhat mainstream media attention.
I agree. But what we are saying from this platform right here is totally contrary to that. Like, if flat earthers are listening, they'd be like, first thing, oh, that's not an experiment, and why would we waste our time? Instead, hey, Nathan, are you going? Hey, this one's going. Hey, that one's going. Hey, yeah. If 24 of us could...
Why are you so exasperated about this? You're like, oh, no, we're in opposition. Yeah. We're in opposition to 99.9% of the Western world's view that we're on a sphere, Neil. So
we shouldn't be in opposition with our own side.
Yeah, but Neil, the problem is this, right? Is what flat earthers have to do is not agree that if there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, that means that the Earth is a globe. Is when they start doing that stupid nonsense, right? If flat earthers en masse don't agree to that nonsense, then we'll work this in the right way.
Hold on, Brian.
That's my point.
Hold on. Yes. Of course, that's the point. Don't affirm the consequent. Yeah. We've covered this. The point is that history repeats itself, though, doesn't it? So, if I cast my mind back, I vaguely remember people affirming the consequent with gyroscopic motion. And yet they went on to Netflix and humiliated themselves with it. Okay.
Yeah, I understand that, Nathan.
So we've pointed out in the past, this is how this fallacy works. We're all victim to it up until the point we realise the Earth is flat. Don't fall victim to the same fallacy. It's the affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy used to affirm that Earth is spinning with gyroscopes. And now we've got an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy with axial rotation and sun movement on a rotating plane antipodal. Okay. So it's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy again. And what you guys, specifically, the guys that also did the same thing on Netflix, are going to go along and accidentally fall victim to the exact same fallacy again. There's something stinks in this fish shop. You know what I mean? It ain't fish either.
I know, I understand.
Well,
that,
they should invite
not
Danny
that.
57 to go on that expedition to Antarctica.
Well, I'm surprised that even if the flat earthers can't realise that it's not an experiment, even if they can't use the nouns and say, well, we'll be measuring the elevation angle to that sun using the flat Earth. I mean, I'm pretty sure at least they can say what they should have been saying for years is, what's the lights in the sky got to do with the shape of the Earth? If they can't pick up on the other two, they should be picking up on that straight away. That's the simplest one.
You have to see how this has been. 1 second. Is that Neil? You're trying to say something, yeah?
No, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, all right, thanks, Neil. You have to see how this is being worked by the ballers. The flat earthers who don't go, and a lot of flat earthers won't be, I think you have to get vaccines and different things. A lot of flat earthers just won't go, right? So then they have it publicly, the flat earthers won't turn up. That's all they have to. They don't have to give any reasons why. They just say none of the flat earthers turned up, right, or are willing to go. So no matter what way they work this, it makes us look bad, and that's the whole point of this.
I didn't even see it that way, Brian. So you're saying if they're not going to show up, look, the flat earthers wouldn't show up. I gotcha.
Yeah, but yet they're given the
Maybe
flat
Danny's
earthers
going.
reasons not to show up. Well,
Maybe we should ask Danny. He's here in the chat. Danny 57, are you going on this expedition to the Antarctic? No response.
Who are you talking
Yeah.
about, Danny Faulkner?
That's correct.
so the whole purpose of this is a big character. It's a character assassination on us, and a way for them to hand wave away the past 10 years if they can. That's all they're trying to do. And the problem is, no matter what way it goes, if you did go with them to see whatever could be seen, right? What's the point, right? Who's going to pay for it? Because I think you have to pay for a lot of this yourself, or you have to get your subscribers maybe to pay for it or something. If you did go, what's the point? How does seeing that prove anything? But who is likely to go if they're flat earther? The people who would agree that if we did see a 24-hour Antarctic summer sun, that the Earth is a globe. That's who's likely to go. Those who won't, right? And if outside of them, who else is going to go to the flat outside? Nobody. I don't think anyone would go to it. I don't know, but I doubt. And especially if you have to get certain inoculations and stuff, the flat earthers won't get. So they're not going to. The chances are they're not going to go. And then the borders can say flat earthers were too scared to go, because that's all they want. That's all they ever have.
Or you could spin it like
a challenge all over again.
How does refracted spin it, Nathan? How does refracted spin it? That they'll be seeing a 24-hour sun. He spins it to flat Earth somehow.
They're describing the elevation angle of the sun with respect to the horizon. They're saying if the elevation angle remains above the horizon for a 24-hour period. But the description of it remaining above the horizon is a flat Earth proof, isn't it, Neil? Above the horizon?
Right. So we could spin it like that.
Yeah. Well, it's not that you need to spin anything. They're going to affirm the consequent. They're begging the question fallacy of antipodal globe Earth positioning. So that when they get down to the south, before they've done anything, right, half the people on the boat are going, we're on the bottom of a sphere now. And the other half are going, no, we're not. And the premise is, if we see the sun for 24 hours, then we're on the bottom of a sphere. You're like, no, that's begging the question and affirming the consequent fallacy. You assume you're on the bottom of a sphere when you take that journey. Well, is anybody going to address that? Are we going to go to Antarctica and follow the systems of navigation that require Earth to be flat to get there? Because as far as I'm concerned, before I've even got there, the fact that we're navigating to the place means we're proving a flat Earth already, aren't we? Oh, what? I've got to go down and assume that we're antipodal from where I began. Why would I do that? Oh, well, you're not allowed on the boat unless you assume that when we get down there, we're at the bottom of a sphere. Then we're going to start looking for a phenomena. And if we see it, it proves that I'm antipodal from where I began. No, it doesn't. It's non sequitur. It's an affirming the consequent fallacy. The thing that they're pointing to, the phenomena, if they see the sun above the horizon for 24 hours, then we're on an antipodal positioned sphere, rotating. Doesn't prove any of those things. It's completely non sequitur, in fact. But because they've decided to formulate it into that logic, a fallacy, exactly the same as they did with gyroscopes, we're going to have a load of numpty flat earthers go along, toddling along, saying, well, as long as you pay for my raincoat, I'll come down with you, and affirm the consequent and assume I'm antipodal when I get here. It's idiotic. Now, if they want to turn around and go, Nathan was too scared to come down, I'll turn around and go, no. The guy who's running the experiment contacted me, and I responded to him with the following questions. Why are you affirming the consequent? What about the navigation process itself? I can prove it's flat with the new worlds that we've already navigated to, mapped, charted, and surveyed, and then found our way back home with the navigation systems that are all flat. And what is the, if you're going to still claim it's an experiment, it isn't, independent, dependent, and control variables, and null. Now, give me those things. Yeah? That's what I've demanded of him. Now, he's inviting me to go along, and I'm saying I don't need to go along because you're affirming the consequent with a pseudoscience fraud. Now, not only have I said I don't want to go with him, I've called him a fraud. Because he is. He's saying he's got an experiment. No, you're a fraud. You want to know why I won't go down to Antarctica? Interview me about him. Because I don't associate with frauds. Why is he a fraud? He said he got an experiment. Has he got an independent variable for the phenomena that he hasn't observed yet? He hasn't even observed it, and he's asking me to go down to observe a phenomena. Where's the hypothesis for the experiment? Where's the presumed cause of the phenomena he hasn't observed yet? This is absurd. He's still calling it an experiment, though. Yeah, that's why I justify calling him a fraud. He is. Why haven't I gone down? I don't go with fraudsters to places that are very dangerous. Why would I?
Exactly. Like, is the airplane that's going to bring him there, will that be accounting for curvature and rotation? You know what I mean? No. No, will the pilot be dealing with curvature and rotation? No. So, it's cold nonsense. This whole thing is only purely designed to try and make us look bad. Like McTown's challenge. The whole point of it was he knew that any flat earther who would get involved in that would end up having to use calculations based around the globe because that's the way celestial navigation has been set up. Even if all the measurements are being made are on a flat plane. Right? He knew that. So there's no point in any flat earther trying to go through that and trying to take on the challenge because he knows that the challenge is flawed to begin with. So what was important to him is that him and all the ballers could go around claiming that flat earthers can't take on this challenge. When what the challenge is a fraud. A flawed fraud is what that challenge is and was. And this is another one.
Well, Brian.
Okay? Come on, Monday.
Just saying, like, I did. We know the Globers have always spoke about the lights in the sky being some sort of proof of the shape of the Earth and all that nonsense. But I did point out about 3 months ago, I noticed there was like an uppage in this. I noticed there was more talk of lights in the sky from the Globers and anti-flat earthers. Really, on the couple of servers I was going in and chats I was having, I thought it was like taking off again. They picked up on this, and I think part of that is now what we're giving them, the flat Earth measurements and the celestial navigation. They've got nowhere to. They've got to move away from the ground now, because there's no hope for them down here with a measurement. So they're taking it back up to the sky again, big time. And anyone who falls for that, any flat earther who goes for that, is just an idiot.
But the sky is what kills them, because the sky is what you're referencing in celestial navigation, in astronomy. All these you're referencing the sky. Yeah, and that involves elevation angles of a flat plane. That flat plane is Earth. You know what I mean? They always do. They've always done that. They've always tried. It's not just a new thing. They've been doing that for the past decade, where they keep on trying to talk about the sky as if it's some kind of proof of a globe. And it wasn't. What all they're ever doing is hijacking the celestial dome model. That's all they were ever actually doing. We don't see a curved sky. I don't see any big curved sky. There's no curved sky. That comes from the celestial dome model. It's a mathematical model. That's all it is. This is.
There's lights in the sky. They have ground positions on the grid system that we use for navigation with longitude and latitude driven from elevation angles to Polaris. That's the killer. Lights in the sky.
Yeah, they prove a flat Earth.
Yep.
But like you say, not all flat earthers are jumping on that because they're not up to date or advanced or using this. They're not, and they're not using what did we say before? So I lost my trailer. So they're not picking up on it. You know, they're not picking up on
One
that
deck, say it
fact.
the way it is. One deck, they're not keeping up with the flat Earth debate.
Yeah, that's right, Neil. Well said. I couldn't have said it better myself.
What will
The
be
angle above the
interesting will
surface of the Earth. That's the nail in the coffin.
what will be interesting in all
Everything.
this will be just 1 second. What will be interesting in all this will be what they come back with. Right? Will they see a 24-hour sun? Will they be able to show a video a 24-hour sun?
I
Or
want
will
to
they not?
see the abominable snowman.
But the point I'm making is that will add another excuse me, interesting twist to things. What about if they don't? That's going to be tricky. Will they try and use AI
Do
to
that.
create one? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are they going to try to do? Because we are in the
Well,
age of
even if they
AI.
do, yeah. But
Sorry?
even if they do observe that phenomena, what they're going to do then? How are they going to vary and manipulate it? How are they going to tell you why that is? All we know is that they've measured the elevation angle to it above the horizon, which you need a flat Earth for.
But I'm looking at the other side of it because we keep talking about that side. But what about the other side? What happens if they don't observe it? How will that affect them? It won't make any difference to
If they
me
don't
whether
what?
they do or don't. Sorry, Nathan?
Don't what? If they don't what?
Observe a 24-hour Antarctic sun.
Oh, that don't matter. They can just interview a few people around the site that they're on who say that they have observed it, and then they'll toddle on their way and say that they've got first-hand testimony that it does happen. You know, at the moment, what have I got? I've got first-hand testimony from a guy who spent 18 months down there that said there was no 24-hour sun in Antarctica. I spent 18 months there. Enough time to know that there wasn't one. Right? So what do? They go down, speak to someone and say, is there a 24-hour sun here? And the guy goes, oh, yeah. Yeah, it stays light for 24 hours. In other words, he answers a slightly different question. Bob's your uncle. Jobs are good.
Yeah, but that's not
they're
good
going
enough.
to a station that is already there, you know, to
Yes.
supposedly themselves observing something that these people
Yeah.
on the station they're not observing.
Or better still, they'll go to one of the stations and they'll go, oh, I'm so sorry, it was cloudy. What we have got on this station's monitoring system is the 24-hour footage that we've got throughout the day. You can show you that. Do you want to film it with your camera? You can film this monitor with your camera if you want. And these numpties will buy it. You want
Yes,
footage
they
of... They're looking for footage of a 24-hour sun. So if they're presented with footage of a 24-hour sun when they get down there, that'll be good enough, won't it? That's what they'll probably come back with.
Yeah.
Not
yes
their
and
footage,
no.
not them filming it.
See, the whole purpose of this, right, according to them, is for to see if they can film it and see a 24-hour sun or not. If they don't come back with their own videos of an actual 24-hour Antarctic sun, that's going to be pretty tricky for them. Because anything else other than that is only a time bomb at that point. Because if they come back with data or any other nonsense, then that means they don't have it. I mean, anyone can get a 24-hour Arctic sun this month. Now, this month, you can be in the Arctic and get a 24-hour sun. This month. Right? They have to be able to show that exact video that anyone can make in the Arctic. Anyone who's in the Arctic Circle can make that.
That's not what you do tactically. Month. What you do is, where we're currently, without hindsight, in advance of the event, pointing out the fallacy, if it fails and your opponent starts pointing out by way of utilising the same fallacy against you in defeat, that because we failed to affirm the consequent, it proves Earth's flat. Obviously, that's just as fallacious. So your opponent then points out how it fails to prove the contrapositive when your opponent uses it as a flat Earth proof. That's what they do.
Yeah, didn't think of that.
I did. It's the first thing that I thought of. What do you mean you did? Wasn't it you? No, it was Adam. Earlier on the show, Adam was pointing out that they take the failings of their own claim when we point out how they fail and ascribe that failed claim to us, like it's our claim. The example being, Dan, with you and your reference frames have been ruined. Well, when they don't get a 24-hour sun, and we say the failure to observe a 24-hour sun proves it's flat, they'll point out the fallacy in the claim from the flat earther. I mean, if you fail to recognise the fallacy for them when they're making it before you go down there, you'll be exactly the same likelihood to fail to realise that you're having the same fallacy you haven't even made a claim for being utilised against you when the quasi-experiment fails. Yeah? In other words, let's put it more simplistically, there's still going to be the false dichotomy. And the false dichotomy is never going to be set up so that flat Earth wins if the experiment, which it isn't, fails. It'll still be a lose-lose for flat Earth.
Yeah, all that I'm taking on board. They don't come back with a video of a 24-hour Antarctic sun. That is going to cause some pretty serious cognitive issues for them. There's no way around that. That's because anyone can get the 24-hour Arctic sun this time of year. It should be just as simple to get the 24-hour Antarctic sun, if it's happening. If they can't come up with that, that's going to be very problematic.
What if they fake it? What if they go north?
Yeah, they might do that. Like I reckon they did in the past. But that doesn't mean that there is a 24-hour Antarctic sun.
But if they say we're in the Antarctic and there's a load of snow around them, and then they film a 24-hour sun, and you go, all right, that completely contradicts first-hand testimony of a man that's been down there for 18 months plumbing one of these stations. I wonder how they did that, with flat earthers capturing it too. Well, who's to say that they are in Antarctica? Did somebody check? Are they just in the north?
We should.
Yeah.
We should ask them to do some video footage of using a sextant to pinpoint the GP and their position on the flat horizontal plane, just to prove where they are. And then point out that you need a flat Earth to do that.
Yeah, get them to triangulate their position. Right? Get a fix. Okay. I don't believe you're... When they're down there, that's what we need to do. We need to say, we don't believe that you're going to actually take these flat earthers to Antarctica. And to prove that you are, we want you to get your fix with 3 navigation stars to prove you are where you say you are. We need to see the pictures of the stars. How are they going to do that if they're claiming there's 24 hours? If it's light the whole time? I'm just thinking about the flaws in this. Are they going to? Yeah, exactly. Are they going to pinpoint their position? They can do it with the sun, right? They can still do it with the sun. So ask them for their fix at 3 different times, 3 hours apart, utilizing the sun, so they can verify their position. We want a fix, right? And without it, we won't trust that they're in Antarctica. As soon as they give
Imagine
it
if they did it, though. Imagine if they did it. We say you need a flat Earth for that, mate.
Well, you'd wait till after. You've ruined it now because you've just dedicated that to this recording. But yes. So yeah, incorporate something that they'll have to measure to prove where they are. That's what we need to do. Insist on it. Make it very vocal. We want this particular flat Earth measuring proof to show where you are. So we need to refine that and then put it out there as a very strong, this is our position on the matter. We want to know that you are actually where you say you are in Antarctica, because we know there is a 24-hour sun in the north. We need your fix. Yeah? Show us your position with 3 areas of equal elevation. We just won't say it that way. We'll refine how we'll ask for it. What do you reckon, lads?
Yeah, I mean, they could try and be in the north and try and get away with that. That could be possible. Like I reckon they did that in the past. I even challenged one guy on a video, and he wasn't able to prove that he wasn't in the Arctic. So how do you get
The
if
guy
they have a
who
24-hour sun? They only had all they can do is all they can do is use the sun because they don't have other celestials at that point.
yeah, the guy
And
Will
they
Duffy
can
who's
make a
offering to like making the offer. He's like a Christian apologetics. I don't know if he would lie.
Why?
So I would say I
Neil,
don't
tell
know
him
if he
about the
would
astronaut in
lie,
Times
outright
Square.
lie.
Tell him about the astronaut in Times Square Church, Neil.
Yeah, there was an astronaut that came to Times Square Church, Christian, stood at the pulpit and said he was one of the last astronauts to orbit the moon or the Earth or something to that effect. He's a Christian, and that's a lie.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that makes or breaks it. It's just that before this topic came up, his objective was to argue for Christianity, and now he's fallen into the flat Earth debate.
Okay, did you know he's already been exposed as lying by his own admission? In his second appearance on one of his
No, I
videos,
did
he had
not.
to apologise for why he was lying in his anonymity. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Okay, he's a self-confessed liar already. It was one of the first things he did when he appeared with his face on camera. Apologised for the lie he had to tell. Now you know.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, once somebody lies to you one time, they're basically calling you stupid because they think you're stupid enough to believe their lie. Why would you trust them even again?
I'm liking this. I'm thinking that this could end up being like I can predict it already, right? There'll be stupid flat earthers involved, but I predict that this is going to end up somewhere down the line looking really, really bad for the polars. I just know it because no matter what they do, they don't have Earth curve, they don't have rotation, they don't have any of these things. So and they're constantly trying to use tactics and be smart and making fools of themselves. So it's only a matter of time before they make idiots of themselves. With this on this topic, concerning this topic, and I reckon that there will be some of them if they do go there and they don't see a 24-hour Antarctic sun. That is going to cause if they do actually go there and they don't see it, that's going to be problematic.
What if they see it?
Again, Sasha?
What if they see the 24-hour sun? What will be conclusion?
Then they get to affirm the consequent.
Globe.
Then they get to
They will
use
say a globe.
Then they get to describe a flat plane of reference for axial rotation of the sun, antipodal positioning in tow, with a radial value measured off a flat Earth that infers antipodal positioning. They can affirm that consequent by begging the question of all the things I've just described and saying that they are confirmed by seeing a 24-hour sun.
Yeah, because it will lead us again to the radius, because if your conclusion is the globe, that means we will have a sphere. That means let's check it, the sphere. In reality, we're checking, there is no sphere. That means 24-hour sun has nothing to do with measuring the surface of it. It's
Well,
the same like
it does if
season.
they're detailing the elevation angle measurement being with respect to the horizon above it permanently. That description is a description of the elevation of the sun with respect to the horizon, isn't it?
How you will reach Antarctica? Do you need to cross the sea?
Yeah, they'll navigate to it flat. That's right.
Yeah. You need to cross the sea level and then you will reach Antarctica where it's 24-hour sun. And when you see 24-hour sun, you will conclude that Earth is a globe, whatever you pass like 1,000 miles of the flat sea level surface.
I don't think they will see a 24-hour sun. If they do go to Antarctica,
yeah,
based on what Robert Shortman told me, there isn't one.
We have 18 hours of sun now, and then we will have 8 hours of sun in September. But surface will stay the same.
They'll end up saying, we wouldn't expect to see a 24-hour sun.
We'll get, you and your 24-hour sun is ruined.
That was really funny. I was laughing, but I was muted.
Like I said, you do find yourself talking about this nonsense, don't you? You know, you do find yourself talking about it.
Well, I suppose you can't ignore it in this arena. We can't ignore that this thing is going on. You know, we can only point out what we, or make sure, give our opinions on it, but we can't ignore it's happening. That would be kind of not possible.
What we can do is point out the affirming the consequent fallacy like we tried to when it came to gyros. Now, last time, there was some... I have to say words that I can't believe I'm going to say. They had an intrinsic tie to this claim, so that they could affirm the consequent also for ether. They, who shall not be named by this example. This time, we've got Antarctica as part of the intrinsic claim. Now, for quite some time, we've been saying, why are we talking about Antarctica? It's riddled in speculation when there's specific areas of the world that we have navigated to and expanded out the known territories with. We're all very familiar with the New Worlds. We don't need Antarctica as part of our flat Earth proving examples of measuring the world. We don't need him. We don't need Antarctica. It's weird that, because there are quite a few people on the flat Earth side that do incorporate Antarctica into their everyday arguments about flat Earth, isn't there? So this seemingly does have a consequence on flat earthers. So they would be the ones invested in it and looking bad if their ice walls suddenly, fell victim to something that they didn't expect? Something they shouldn't have been claiming in the first place and didn't have any proof for, proves to be wrong by some quasi-experiment. This is all just history repeating itself, isn't it, lads? Now, all we can do is tell our audience, this is what they're doing. They're affirming the consequent. This is how that works. We've done that 2 or 3 times already. I won't do it again. And then, if you're concerned about the principal people involved, if Jaren, for the sake of argument, ended up being one of them, contact Jaren and say, it's the same affirming the consequent fallacy they used with gyros when you were humiliated on Netflix. Maybe that'll, tell people like Jaren what this works with. If it's not Jaren, if it's somebody else, go and point out the same thing. This is how the fallacy works. It's an affirming the consequent formal logical fallacy. If P, then Q, Q, therefore P. The fallacy being that the Q doesn't necessarily follow that the P is connected to it. That is to say, if grass is green, then there will be an alien invasion in 2021. There was an alien invasion in 2021, therefore grass is green. Now, you notice how the Q statement has no actual association to the P statement. Yeah? Now, it might not be the case that the P or Q statement is true. In this case, the Q statement is, we will observe a 24-hour sun. Is that directly connected to if Earth's a sphere? No, it's put into an if statement, so you can affirm the consequent with that observation. That is to say, you make a begging the question statement in this case that if Earth's a sphere, the very thing you're trying to prove, you've assumed in the first instance with your P statement. Then you say that to confirm that which you've just assumed, you'll observe something happening. Doesn't matter what. We will observe meteors flying through the sky, shooting stars, if Earth's a sphere. Then you reassert the P statement. We do see shooting stars, therefore Earth's a sphere. So if P, then Q, Q, therefore P. The fallacy being that the Q doesn't necessarily have to follow the P, or vice versa. It's not a truth statement to say that if we observe a 24-hour sun in the Antarctic, then Earth is a rotating sphere. It's not a proven statement. The fallacy. Now, we tried it with gyros. We're doing it now with Antarctica. They'll either listen to us or they won't. Probably won't. It'll probably lead to shill-based character assassination of some popular flat earthers so that lots of people in the public eye lose interest because of their so-called guru being smashed publicly and humiliated publicly for the second time with a fallacy they've already fallen victim to. That's what I predict will happen.
You think they'd have learned their lesson, right, Nathan?
No, we tried to give
Is
them
the-
the lesson to learn and they shut us down, Neil. So no.
No, I don't know if this is the actual claim about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Is the claim that you will see the sun, or is the claim that it will be light? I'm not saying that makes a difference at the moment, but I'm not sure what the actual claim is by
They might arrange the P&Q
you know.
differently. So if we observe a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, then we are positioned antipodally on a spherical rotating system. We are positioned on a spherical rotating system because we observe 24-hour sun in Antarctica. That's how they're formulating this fallacy.
I mean, is the claim that you will see the actual sun, or is the claim that it will be light?
It has to be the actual sun, because you can video
Right.
the actual sun above the horizon over a 24-hour period in the Arctic. So it has to be the actual sun. Has to be.
Oh no,
Can't be
Brian,
just
it's just behind
some
those
light.
clouds. Trust me on this. Here it's light in the distance, that's the sun. It's just as clouds in the way, you just can't see it. The sun above the horizon will rapidly turn into the light above the horizon. And the light doesn't mean a disc-shaped thing we call the sun. It just means that it's light in the distance over there. And, oh no, it's clouds. We just can't see the sun because the clouds are in the way. But that is the sun above the horizon. Trust me on this. Something like that. They'll be weaselly. Like I say, I don't think it occurs because I've got first-hand testimony from a guy who spent a long time down there. And what do you think the question on our lips was when he first came to us? Is there 24-hour sun in Antarctica? You say you've been down there. Did you see the sun all day? That's the first thing we asked him.
If this is the claim on the table when you type it into Google or whatever, that there is a 24-hour sun to be visible, then if it's actually not happening, surely you wouldn't be ever in a position to go and see if it's not happening then.
What you're saying is, if it should be above the horizon for a 24-hour period, there's absolutely no way it couldn't be above the horizon if we're on a sphere. Yeah, you're buying into the affirming the consequent fallacy from the flat Earth position. You're halfway to saying, well, therefore it's not a sphere. No, it's fallacious. It's not a modus tollens if we reposition the argument. It's just as fallacious. But that's what they want. They want you to do this one deck.
No, Nathan. If the Earth was a globe within the heliocentric paradigm, then the sun must behave exactly the same in Antarctica in the summer as it does in the Arctic in the summer. That's why they have that thing.
Maybe you could form it into logic, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't know what the sun is, and other than a first-hand account, I haven't been down there to observe it. If, and I've done this twice now, this will be the third time, let's say they do. Let's take it as read. Let's say there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica. Okay. Beyond the if Earth is a sphere begging the question statement that precedes that, we're taking it as read, statement of fact that the sun does remain above the horizon for 24 hours in Antarctica, permanently above the horizon, does that in any way affirm the consequent of the preceding statement that we beg the question with, that Earth's a sphere, based on that observation? No, it doesn't.
That's why I think it's going to get tricky for them if they can't actually video a 24-hour sun. The sun itself above the horizon, clear, totally clear for 24 hours. They can't do that. That's a problem. Even claiming light, any other nonsense, doesn't work. They can't do that. That's very problematic for them. Very problematic for them. Now, that might mean they need to change the model. That's what that might mean.
Yeah, because of the
I mean,
axis tilt, it wasn't in the right position for the 24-hour sun. That's why it stayed pretty much light. What, like I get in summer because I'm not north enough to get a 24-hour sun?
Well, yeah, we need to change the model a bit because we have that part slightly wrong, which is what they'll have to do. The heliocentric model will have to change for that one aspect somehow. Because, see, if they're seeing light, right, but not sun, not a sun, but just light, then that's not the sun above the horizon. They can't prove that, but there is light. So that might be good enough for them to just bring a change to the model. That's the best they got. If they see just light with no sun, then they're going to have to change the model, and that'll be the route they'll have to take. If they see the sun above the horizon, they'll all think it's a win. If they don't see any light or sun above the horizon for 24 hours, that's going to be very tricky. Very tricky.
Even if they do see a 24-hour sun, what does it prove about the Earth?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Observing
that
the
it's
sun
flat.
for a start.
I think they will see it. I mean, I'm just guessing because I'm looking at timeanddate.com and I'm looking at sunrise and sunset times in Antarctica versus the same degrees north, and it looks like down in Antarctica they have 19-hour daylight, just the same as Anchorage, Alaska. So unless
That's not 24 hours.
timeanddate.com is no, it's not 24 hours, but I think it would. You think if it was 24 hours at the pole, quote unquote pole, then as you go further away from the pole, it would be 23 hours, 22 hours, 21 hours.
No,
Like,
that's not the claim.
Well,
You don't have to go that far north to get a 24-hour sun at the right time. They're going down at a very specific time, so they can have that effect. Now, I can achieve that effect and have. I've had somebody tune into a Tracking the Sun event 10 years ago and show us the sun above the horizon in the north. It wasn't a revelation. It was really easy to capture. The guy got it on his camera phone. He just repeatedly tuned in and went, there's the sun, there's the sun, there's the sun, there's the sun. It wasn't hard. Yeah? That's what they've got to do. They've got to achieve the same very easy to achieve standard so that they can observe that phenomena. And once they do, I'll put a checkbox. I'll tick a box that says phenomena observed. Okay. Now we need to figure out what caused that phenomena. The phenomena of the sun being above the horizon the whole time. Okay. Let's start varying independent variables. Now we've got a naturally observed phenomena. What's that? Oh, you've just decided it's because Earth's spherical and we're positioned antipodally now? Nah. I thought this was an experiment. It's a good job I asked before you went down there to give us this clarity that never came, because now I'm just going to rub it right in your face. It doesn't prove that we're on an antipodally positioned rotating sphere when the reference system described is flat with an axis. If you're going to beg the question that that is the cause when you haven't validated it by way of an experiment. Precisely the thing that you said you were going down to do. Now you need the causal influencer to be varied by you, the researcher, to prove that is causing it. Now, if your causal influencer is a sphere Earth you've assumed, I'm not going to accept it as a variation that you can achieve as a researcher because you can't vary it. So it's not a valid experiment. Oh, well, what does that mean if you did call it that? It means he's a fraud.
I just hope people.
Good luck with varying and manipulating that.
Well, I'd need to know that they were planning on varying and manipulating it because I've asked him, what's your independent variable? I want to know what he's going down to vary in his experiment. If he gets down there and says, saw the sun, 24 hours. Yeah, I already knew the DV. You didn't specifically outline that for me when asked. to give it in a formal, valid hypothesis, that's scientific prediction for your experiment. You didn't give me that. We already knew. You didn't even confirm you had got that as a phenomena at that stage when I asked, though. But what phenomena observed? Yeah, okay, great. Next step, formulate a hypothesis.
Just as a side note, time and date is mathematically based around the globe. That's why it's often wrong. Because it's based around the globe. So you
That's
can't go
correct.
by time and date. Because it won't be. Time and date tried to tell me that the moon was 12 degrees above the horizon when it was obviously 30-something degrees above the horizon. You know, things like that. Because on the globe, it had to be only 12 at that particular time.
It's hours out,
You know?
and we've shown that in tracking the sun.
Yeah.
We've shown that time and date is wrong. Fact. We can demonstrate it. We have. By way of the solar zenith of the sun at a given time, that solar zenith is claimed in time and date, and it's wrong. So we've shown it's wrong.
Cool. I was a little skeptical about it at first, anyway.
Skeptical about what? Be more specific.
Oh, like the timeanddate.com. Like, it was one of the first search results, and it's like, well, can I really trust this to give me the truth about the sunrise and sunset? And like, I don't know. I doubt
Yeah, you
it.
can.
In Antarctica.
No, but for you and your sunrise, yeah, you can. But for 99.9% of applications that time and date is put to, it will be correct. That is to say, we had to spend 2 sessions of tracking the sun live over 24-hour periods across the surface of Earth to show a couple of instances where what they said would be solar zenith, that's midday at a given point on Earth, where the sun is at your zenith, it wasn't. It was out by an hour at certain locations, obscure ones. For everyone else, what we were asking the audience to tune in with was sunrise, sunset, and solar zenith. And they matched almost every single time.
Yeah, I've shown that time and date is wrong with the moon and different things. See, it will be somewhat similar, and for most of the time you won't have a major issue with it. But if you want to actually get specific about stuff, with the moon I've noticed that often be out. Because the moon, within that paradigm, has to do a particular thing, because they also have that the face of the moon always facing the globe thing. So they have to mess around, but people won't notice the moon as much,
right?
Because they won't be looking at it. They'll notice
that
the
makes
sun if the
total
sun
sense.
is really
It's a totally different cycle. So to try and incorporate the moon into timeanddate.com, it makes perfect sense that it's going to be not wildly out, but out all the time. Like, there's going to be plenty of examples where the moon won't match. But like you say, no one's going to care or notice because the system itself isn't dependent on the moon. We're not talking about months. We're talking about the time and day and night. That's very much sun-centric in terms of not its positioning in Earth, but in terms of what we're describing, it's sun-centric. Where you say, well, how does the moon match up with that? Well, it doesn't. It's on a different cycle.
Yeah, when on the moon video of the full moon in the daylight video that I have, that I sent, that we used for one of the ball busters or something, that at the time that I got the moon, the exact time that I filmed the moon out in the morning, time and day told me that the moon was 12 degrees above the horizon, when it was obviously at least 24, if not 32 and more degrees above the horizon.
That's miles out.
It's miles out. But they
I thought
have
it'd be a
to
bit more
say
subtle than
12
that.
because... Sorry?
I said I thought it'd be a bit more subtle than that, but it does still make sense that it would be that. I almost caveated it with it would be miles out a lot of the time, but you think, well, that's a pretty big claim. But no, I wish I had said that now, because it does make sense. They're on completely different cycles.
Well, the moon can't be out, the full moon can't be out in the morning time in the daylight, while the full moon and the sun can't be above the horizon at the same time
Yeah, they
within
can.
their paradigm.
No, they can
So
in the
that's
model.
why-
I covered this with Chris Monk and he modelled it for me. I wouldn't normally know the answer to this, but I had that query and showed him an example of exactly that I got on video early on. It's 10 years ago, right? One of the first videos I took was, how is this possible? So I presented it to Chris Monk and went, show me this in your model that you've made, because he made one in Blender. So he did. And he was like, no, from your position on the ground, if you model it from the ground, you wouldn't get to see the both above the horizon. But in terms of their actual heliocentric positioning, both can be and would be and described correctly in their model as being above the horizon in this full moon. And I was like, well, what I then asked him was, give me an example that is an impossible moon. And he did set up a waning gibbous that wasn't possible in terms of heliocentric positioning. And then he gave me another one that was almost impossible and very easy to show as happening. And he was like, you just need to go out and capture that. But after that, I was like, I've kind of lost interest in this now. But Chris Monk was a bit chilly. He might have been.
No, Nathan.
He's lied with models before, so.
Yeah, don't go by that. No. It's impossible for a full moon to be out in the daytime in the heliocentric paradigm. We went through. Ask Adam. We went through it. It's impossible. It's one. I even showed what they had to say about it. Official claims. It's impossible. If you understand how the full moon is a full moon within that paradigm, it makes it impossible for that and the sun to both be above the horizon for an observer at the same time within that paradigm. Not in reality, within that paradigm.
Fine, I'll take your word for it.
No, you can take my word.
I got a
How would
picture
you
of
get
it.
the angles? How would you get the angles to know where the sun and moon could be for it to be impossible?
They could be above your equatorial plane, not above your horizon on a globe.
Yeah, they're begging the question that occurring's happening after the flat Earth use, John. Yes, that's correct.
See, I'm working off of the idea of someone standing on the surface of a globe because that's the claim. And the claim is that can't happen. Right? And you know what they actually try and say? Some of the bigger websites try and say, well, it shouldn't happen. That's what they said. Right? If you go through look at the moon phases and how they work, you will see that within that paradigm, with the sun, the globe out, and the moon, it's impossible for the moon and the full moon and the sun to both be above the horizon for an observer at the same time, which is why they were trying to say that the moon was only 12 degrees above the horizon for me when it was obviously a lot more than 12 degrees. Because they need to be bringing that moon down below an horizon, don't they? A globe's edge. That's what they need to be doing. Right, and mathematically they're showing, no, it's going down behind, they're telling you it's actually going down behind the leading geometric edge of the globe now, when you're looking at it way above the flat horizon in reality. So that's what they're doing.
Yeah, the same principle applies regardless if it's the moon or otherwise. Although, have you actually ever seen a moonrise?
I've seen it on a video, but it's a bit of a funny one. I can't say I remember seeing it rising from. See, you won't see it rising. You won't see it the same as the sun because it's not emitting heat.
But regardless, it's a body emitting light, and I've got plenty of obstructions at the horizon all around me that I've, on countless occasions, seen the sun come up from, right? But out of literally the window I'm sat right next to, I can see the sun come up. But the moon...
But you didn't see the sun come up, that's the point. This is the thing. This is another thing that I've said this a load of times.
It's not just bandy words. Let me get to the end of the example. But the moon just appears, and it's in the same direction that the sun, by my perception and description in this case, without bandying words, comes up from. Right? I can see that horizon, and I can see the sun appearing at that point. Right? The moon, I've never observed that to happen with the moon. I'm just saying what I have not. I can't remember a single time I've observed that to happen. It's there.
Yeah, I'm not. Sorry, I thought you were finished. Yeah, I know. With the stars, I've never. You can't. It doesn't happen with the stars. And with the moon, I can't say I ever witnessed it either. And I'd say it doesn't happen with the moon, unless it depends on how close the moon rises to sunset, right? Then you might think you're observing it. I've said this many times, and people I don't think are catching on. And I even made a video, and people aren't understanding it, right? Officially, when you see the sun in the morning at the horizon, or in the evening at the horizon, the visible sea horizon, let's just say, that's not the sun. Officially, they claim that is the sun mirage. So when you're seeing it in the morning, right, at your horizon, that's actually, the sun is not actually after reaching that point yet. You're under the impression that the sun is there, but it actually hasn't reached it yet. And when you see it in the evening time, that's not the sun either. The sun has actually moved away. That's what mirage that's left behind by the sun. That's why in the evening time you'll often see the sun looking all melting into the horizon. Because officially they know that there is no physical sun coming up from behind any bloody globe edge.
They don't know that. That's what they say as part of their rhetoric with their heliocentric sun is a mirage at the end of its day because we've got a refracted sun. Yeah, I get that, but that doesn't mean they know that. That isn't the case.
Okay. Don't jump on that. Please, don't jump on that. Stick to the point, right? I shouldn't have said that, right? I hands up, I admit it, right?
In their argument, they should know.
They know the sun is just a mirage when we see it at the horizons.
Yeah.
They know that, right? Now, the other side of that is officially within the globe paradigm, right? The horizon is always a constantly refracted position. Now, it's not refracted, but you know what I mean. Within their paradigm,
no, that's what they say. Everything.
Yeah, over 6 hours, right? Right. That means that officially, if you take both of those official claims and amalgamate them together, what are they claiming? A sunrise is, or a sunset is. A sunset is the amalgamation of two optical phenomena, not any physical sun going down behind any physical, tangible globe edge. The sun, the reason we see the sun, right, doing what it does in the morning or the evening. Let's just say when Neil deGrasse Tyson saw the sun appear to set over the desert in Dubai, then he went up to the top of the Burj Khalifa, the highest building in the world, and said he saw the sun appear to set a second time. No, it didn't set in the first place. It only appears to do that because it's leaving a mirage behind it. It's not actually. Whereas the sun, what's the difference between the sun and the moon and the celestials? The sun is emitting radiation and heat, creating heat, and that's the difference. The moon is not doing that. Actually, the moon is more taking away or something.
It's reflecting.
And the celestials aren't doing
reflecting the light from the sun.
Yeah, that's nonsense. The moonlight is cold. So the point being is that the moon is not doing what the sun is doing. The celestials are not doing what the sun is doing. So only the sun. We never hear about. It's only the sun that ever appears to meet the horizon, and it's only appearing to do that because of heat, because of the effects that it's causing, because it is heating up the earth. So when you see it, you think that you're seeing the sun at sunset at the horizon. That's not the sun. The sun is not there anymore. What you're seeing is a mirage left behind by the sun. It's purely optical. So the point being is that what's the globe's biggest claim? What is the number one biggest proof and claim?
Horizon
is that there is a physical, that there's a physical, tangible sun going down behind a physical, tangible globe edge horizon.
Right.
Right. But if you take the two official claims to do with the official claim to do with their horizon and their official claim to do with the sun and put them both together, what have you got? The meeting of two optical phenomena. And the complete opposite from what they're claiming.
I see. So what you're saying is, even within their own rhetoric, they've got an optical phenomena, Earth curve, with another optical phenomena, the sun mirage, and they're trying to actually assert that you've got a physical sun being blocked by a physical hill, which is in contradiction to the actual standard rhetoric that they all know they should be claiming. Hence, when I interrupted, I'm like, well, that doesn't mean it is actually refracted. Well, it is for them, and they all should know better when they start claiming that the sun's being blocked by an Earth curve. It's not really the sun for you, and it's an optical phenomena of the plane obscuring the plane in your maths. So this is all garbage, but you'll still just parrot out that it's a proof that there's a hill getting in the way of the physical sun that we see.
Yeah, that's the point. That's why I stress that point so much, because they're making a claim of a physical, tangible sun that's made of plasma, right, appearing to go down behind the leading tangible geometric edge of a globe Earth. When they compartmentalize those two claims, their geometric edge becomes just a refracted edge, right, of nothing, and their tangible sun becomes just a mirage. So basically, it's the meeting of two mirages. If you want to kind of say it in a fast way, the meeting of two mirages. That's not our curve. You know what I mean? They don't have anything. They have nothing.
No. And what they do have requires a flat plane.
Exactly.
Was that refracted I just heard before?
He did join for a second or two.
Oh.
Why?
I'm still here.
Oh,
okay.
Where were you when Brian was destroying Nathan before? He needed some help.
No, it did not.
Yeah, I'm picking a fight.
Speak of it.
Neil?
Being a little bit of an instigator.
I'm with that.
Neil, are you there?
I am here.
I've got a question as a floor layer. Well, if we and you went to the beach and we had to measure out a volleyball court on the beach, how would we measure the ground? Would we
If you
measure
what?
it-
If you had it. Hold on, I didn't hear you.
How would we measure the ground when we're measuring the ground to mark the court out? How are we measuring it? Are we measuring it with the pre-assumed R value, or are we measuring it flat?
Bloody hell, Neil. It's like sometimes you can't stop yourself. Now it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, you can't get them to talk when you're looking for them to say something. But
I'm doing a delivery. Excuse me.
Yeah,
I
when you
still
don't
didn't
want
hear
them to
what he
say anything,
said.
you
All
can't
I
shut
heard
up.
was measured flat or repeat the whole thing now that I can hear you.
Okay, so if me and you were marking out a volleyball court on the beach and we measured the one side of it and the other side, did we measure that court? Did we measure it flat, or did we incorporate an R value when we measured it?
No, you measured it flat. I'm assuming with a tape measure.
So when we measure the Earth, we measure it flat then? Even if we're not measuring a big distance, even if I'm only measuring a foot from me to the edge of the wall in front of me, I'm still measuring it flat, aren't I? I'm not measuring it with any curvature in.
Correct. Why would you?
Just to add to, I only heard bits of people arguing today, and I'm not sure what it seems to be what does the statement mean? But to me, every single bit of it, when you make that measurement, it's implicit, it's flat. And it's part of your comprehension of the measurement. How you're going to use that measurement and how you use other measurements. Like I said, if I'm just making a volleyball court, it's implicit that they're flat distances, aren't they? That the distance relates to being laid onto a flat plane for them to have meaning. Yeah. So if I've not got an R value, then they have no meaning without the R value. I could transpose it onto a curved surface, but without that R value, the actual size has no meaning.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I absolutely agree that the implication is that it's like, I mean, when you're doing an elevation angle, then the baseline, if you're using Earth as your baseline, then the baseline has to be flat. There's no way out of it. If you're, that's just the way it is. But my argument was different. My argument was that the elevation angle in Slit was that if the horizontal adjacent length is only a calculation, then my argument was that you're not measuring flat then, because you're not measuring it then. That's just a calculation of a flat distance.
This is another thing. I don't, and this is kind of a general thing. Are you measuring it to be flat? No. Are you asking me to say how not flat it is? So something is either flat or it's a deviation. Flat, it's just zero, isn't it? Yeah. Deviations away from that, they're worth measuring, aren't they? Because you might have to mitigate for them. But how do you measure flat? Well, it either is or isn't. You measure away from flat, don't you?
Yeah. But you can measure horizontal distance between 2 points.
But that's not measuring flat. That's a straight line.
Which will be described as flat. See, what is flat?
Straight. So lines aren't flat. Lines are straight. It's just a straight line, that.
Yeah, but it
surface
can
can
be
be flat.
described as flat.
A line can't be flat.
Well, you can describe a line as flat.
No, you can't. You can describe a line as a line. It's not flat. It's just a line.
Well, it is. That's what it is. It's flat.
It's not. It's not.
How do you describe a line? A line doesn't have a
shape. A line. It's not flat. It can't
but it doesn't have a shape.
It can't have the descriptor of flat. It's not able to meet the criterion. It's just a line.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
No, it's a straight line. It could be in a flat orientation, but the line itself is just a line. It can't in of itself be flat.
Flat isn't in an orientation, you see. This is the thing about it.
But when you say that the line could be orientated flat, yeah, that's what but it's just a line.
No, I'm just saying a line can be described as flat.
No, it can't. It can't be flat. It's just a line.
I don't see how you can say it.
Got no width.
Yeah, but you don't need to have width for it to be flat.
You do, otherwise you just describe it as a line.
It's 2 dimensions.
Yeah, so if it's like that, it's no longer that, it's just a line.
Yeah, but that doesn't change it being flat.
It's not
you
flat.
Can describe something, yeah, but no, because a circle is a 2-dimensional shape.
Brilliant.
That's described as flat, right?
Yeah, right. So the circumference
a square
is that flat?
Shape. A line is 2-dimensional.
Exactly. So the circumference of the circle, is the circumference flat, or is it just the 2-dimensional shape that is flat?
The circumference is in 360 degrees, but the point being is that it's 2 dimensions. How can you describe something that's in 2 dimensions and as not being flat? That doesn't make any sense.
You don't describe lines as flat. You just describe them as lines. That's what I'm saying. You
can describe it as
no, you can't, because you don't need to, because it's already fits all the criterion you need by being a line.
But if I was to describe the line, I could describe it as flat. That's not incorrect.
You could, but you describe a non-flat line.
You can't. All lines are flat.
So there's no need to include the flat. The flat's irrelevant to the fact that you've already described it as a line. It's a line.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that I can't describe it as flat. That's my point.
Well, you can, but you can keep adding more superfluous words to it that don't add anything to the detail you've provided. Do you get my?
Well, you can't have a squiggly line.
That's a curve. Yeah, which isn't a line.
Okay.
Yeah? That's just a squiggle, isn't it?
Well, if it's in 2 dimensions. Yeah. Now, if I draw it on a page.
On a page, on a flat page.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the page is flat, isn't it? That's a scrunch it up and then it's not flat.
Yeah, I think
a line is 1-dimensional.
You might have. Sorry.
Yeah. Go on, Discord.
Yeah, a line is 1-dimensional.
Beautiful.
It's not 2-dimensional.
Beautiful. So it can't be flat then.
No, a line is 2-dimensional. 2 points and a line.
Not in geometry. It's not. I know on the page it has to have width and length, but in actual fact, we're describing just 1 dimension, aren't we?
No, we're still describing it. Still, a line still has width and length.
It does to your eyes, but not in geometry, not in the maths, does it? It's just got the length of the line. The width of the line is kind of just depends on which pencil you use. It's not actually a descriptor of it.
A one-dimensional space is a line.
Yeah.
What's a point then?
No, because you can have points on the line, but they're all in one dimension.
Yeah, but what's a point? I didn't ask you how many points you can have if you have points on a line. I asked you what's a point.
It's a baby
if
line.
A line is only, if you're claiming a line is only one dimensional, then what's the point?
The point is a point. That is it.
Yeah, but that's one dimensional.
Not a line. It's not anything. It's just a one individual position is a point, isn't it?
Yeah, one dimensional. So how can a line be one dimensional?
Well, it's just a position is a point, isn't it?
Wavy line if it's not a line.
I would say a wavy line's not a line. Not when we're talking outside of.
What does that mean? Like, it needs a two-dimensional space to exist in, though. It's still a line. It still has no corners.
It's a squiggle, isn't it? It could have corners. I could stick a corner on my squiggle. But we're kind of going off topic, aren't we? Look. You need something flat to draw a straight line.
So then what is the horizon line?
It's just the point of dissolution. It's the point of no longer being able to resolve something.
Yeah, he made a good point though. Yeah, makes a good point though. The horizon line is horizontal. It's flat by definition.
What is?
The horizon line.
That's where we get our concept of horizontal.
Horizontal.
And horizontal and flat. Flat is a synonym of horizontal, or horizontal is a synonym of flat. So that line.
But because we develop our concepts of horizontal from the horizon, does that mean the horizon therefore has geometry?
Flat's not part of geometry.
I just want to know if the horizon is one-dimensional or two-dimensional. The horizon line.
There is no horizon line.
There is.
So how can it have? No, it's a point of optical dissolution. So how can it have dimensions?
But it makes a line to me.
Spirographs make lines.
No.
The point where you are no longer able to resolve a difference does not mean a line.
So then what's it? So then the nonsense that there's no straight lines in nature, that's baloney, because I see the horizon and I also see a spider make a web straight down my ceiling. So that's a straight line.
I think we need to draw a line under this.
Bismuth.
Lol.
Hello.
Next, we said hello.
Okay then. Jolly good.
I thought I lost connection.
A line is two-dimensional. There's no way I'm going to accept that it's one-dimensional. That's just not going to happen. And the horizon line is a line. It's there. We can see it. It creates a line. The horizon is a line that's being created. It's not be an optical line, but it's still a line from our point of view. All lines are optical because we see them.
Can a line encompass a space?
No, this is only two-dimensional.
When you're on the ocean.
The two ends of the line can't meet.
Right. So when you're on the ocean and the horizon is all around you, is it a line?
If you go around in a circle, then your eyes will make a circle. But if you stand still, it's a line.
Does the horizon encompass the space that you're in?
Does the horizon encompass the space that you're in? If you go around in a circle, it will appear as if there is a circle around you, but it's only your peripheral vision giving you that impression as you go around in a 360 degrees. If you stand still, it makes a straight line.
If there's four people standing 90 degrees to each other on the ocean, does the horizon encompass their space?
For each person, they only have a line. One person cannot experience what the other person's experiencing simultaneously. Yet they are all having the same experience.
No, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, but what they're asking is about it. Think about the topic you're asking about and what we're referring to. We're bringing eyesight into it, the human eye into it at that point, and effects of the human eye. The horizon is an apparent position. It's not really there.
Right. So why are we trying to apply geometry to it?
Who's trying to apply geometry to it?
Describing something as a line. Is that not geometric?
Yeah, but you just see it. You describe it as a line because that's how you see it.
Right, is that it? Looks like it. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a patron, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.